of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 21, 2024, on the following application at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Application number 293-24, Darren Licata. Permission to leave driveway, having side yard of 2.8 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, 278 Cluster, south side of Glen Summer Road, 386 feet east of Dashin Lane, Holbrook.
Let the record show I'm going to recuse myself from this one.
Okay, Mr. Licata, can you give, just for the purpose of the record, can you give your name and address, please?
Darren Licata, 164 Glen Summer Road, Holbrook, 11741.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you just hear about leaving the driveway
Yes.
in its condition? Anything else you want to tell the board?
No.
Planning, any comments? Anybody anybody have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Wexler. Would anyone else like to be heard? I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion, yeah.
All in favor? Your application's approved.
Thank you very much.
Application number 294-24, Kevin and Jean Gilbert. Permission to leave shed having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 2 feet. Residence AA District, north side of Elizabeth Court, 373.89 feet west of Johnson Avenue, Sayville.
Good evening, sir. Please give us your name and address.
Kevin Gilbert, 15 Elizabeth Court in Sayville.
You just here on the shed, have a side yard.
Correct.
Questions from the board on this?
No questions.
Planning, have any comments? Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion then.
Make a motion, we approve the application.
All in favor? Application is granted.
Thank you very much.
Application number 295-24, Maggie Lopez and Shanette Lopez. Permission to leave semi-in-ground pool having side yard of 8.7 feet and rear yard of 9.7 feet instead of required 10 feet each, and pool patio having side yard of 2.6 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence B District, east side of Cordello Avenue, 325 feet north of St. John Street, Central Islip.
Good evening, ma'am. If you could just give us your name and address.
Maggie Lopez, 22 Cordello Avenue, Central Islip.
Thank you. And you're here on the in-ground pool
Yes.
and patio. Any questions from the board on this?
Nope.
Planning, any? Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take a motion. In favor?
Aye.
Application is granted. Thank you.
Application number 296-24, Anthony Esposito and Nicole Pappas. Permission to leave retaining wall planter 18 to 22 inches high, having side yard of 3.3 feet and rear yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence B District, east side of South Ocean Avenue, 579.12 feet south of Maple Street, Islip.
Good evening, sir. Give us your name and address, please.
Good evening. Anthony Esposito, 279 South Ocean Avenue, Islip.
We're just here on the retaining wall with the planter and also the, for the side yard and the rear yard.
Right.
Any questions from the board on this?
No.
Any, do you have any comments on this? Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? And please step up. You could step aside, sir.
My name's Denise Holm. I live at 22 Grace Court. I'm the neighbor that's right behind them. HOLM. I'm just curious if when the planters was put in, if there was sufficient drainage, because my yard drains considerably due to the planters that are being put behind my house and the house adjacent to them. We can't use our yard when it rains. It's completely flooded out. We're absorbing everyone's rain.
You're at 22?
I'm at 22, and my yard floods up in the middle of the yard. Our shed in that back corner is usually underwater. The bottom's rotted out. We're gonna have to replace the shed.
So, yeah,
Can I approach the TV?
you can reach it.
I mean, you realize we can't see what you're pointing at, ma'am?
You realize we can't see that screen. Our eyes don't work that way. We look straight ahead. How long has that been happening?
I have there 5 years. wall's been in. They're trying to sell that house right now. Our yard is flooded even more. We had a contractor in yesterday, an engineer, looking at putting out significant money to put drains in to absorb and replace the water that's being pushed into our yard.
What is the grade?
Our grade is low, so we know that we do have to fill our grade, and we're looking at that. That's why my question is, if when they put in their planters, if they put in drains, because 277 said he didn't put drains in.
I'm just so.
So my question is his wall impacting my rain absorption?
I was going to ask you, the planter abuts your property?
His planter goes up to the fence and leaves 1.3 feet. I don't even know how tall the planters are. They're taller than my children, because we went to see the house next door, and you could stand on their retaining wall to see over the fence.
It says here that they're no more than.
That's the height of the wall.
Right,
Not the trees.
So what is it that?
I got a letter just saying to come here at this time, and I'm just saying that we're flooded. I don't know if it's affected by these planters.
The wall is the planter, correct?
Yes, but there's a gap between the planter and the fence of 1
I
point.
just want to go back up, I'm sorry. The planter, the wall abuts your property. Well, there's a foot in between.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to figure this out. Because we don't know. You believe the rain goes into the planter and
the
then.
space between the planter and the fence. There's nothing to absorb the rainwater, and it's collecting. I don't know what's happening on the,
If, so you believe the rain collects between the fence and the planter and then goes in your yard? I'm just trying to learn.
I'm not sure where the rain is coming from. That's why I came here to ask questions about if this planter could be affecting our flooding.
But we don't know that, but I'm trying to understand also, if the planter was there, it looks like there's a variance in elevation and the water would flow onto your property anyway. I don't know, is that correct?
I don't know if the wall, that's why I'm here to ask. I don't know if,
Wow. How long has the planter been there? We established that?
Let's let him see.
yeah.
So I purchased the home in May of 2020. It was an existing structure. I did not install this. This is how I bought the home. I was trying to do the right thing by getting a survey, getting this put on the survey for the pool that we had just put in that was approved. And now I also had flooding as well. My own yard floods, so I had to raise my property. I had an existing sump pump that pumps the water out because that's just the nature of the land. I wasn't able to install the in-ground pool fully because it's such a high water table. So it is an issue that I have as well. I have my own flooding issues as well.
I think that's endemic to the area.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask, like, if, like, I don't have a problem with this one, I don't put it, we need to be required to them, and then, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with flooding. Right next door to you came to me, in the middle, yelling at us, no problem, and then we got this.
I understand.
What we're trying to figure out is, I'm confused. I don't understand how the planter causes flood. I just don't understand. Again, I don't know anything about hydrogeology, but if the rain fell in front of the planter, it seems like we act above. And so the rain that falls in that 1 foot, wouldn't it, and if it wasn't there, wouldn't it go onto your property anyway? Hey,
I don't know, because I'm.
Right, well, that's the problem. We don't have any evidence, so.
I don't have a problem with this law, I just wanted, my question was, in order to.
Let's see if planning can give us some reason.
I'm not, or I don't think the planter should be anything. Anything it should be maintaining water on property. The 1.6
Somebody needs a-
1880, but if it's graded and sloped down, that would come down to the top.
the planter's helping. You may want to say, I
I
like
can't
that.
guarantee that, but I would assume it's probably used.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
obviously not.
that's fine, I know, but I just, I guess
Regardless,
when
I
I got
mean-
this letter, I just came down to ask.
And as far as the height of the planter goes,
Doesn't have.
At the end
I
of
don't
the day, we're 5 lawyers, you know?
Well, you're a hydrogeologist. You told us that.
Nick has planning, he's in the planning department, so he understands, he doesn't think. Somewhat.
I deal with people.
Okay, here you go.
All right, so your only question is,
My only question was about.
I don't think he knows not required, right?
The question is whether or not there's.
No. Just bring full
it's-
water, like, I don't.
I mean, it wouldn't be a requirement. The amount of impervious surface affected by this wall is probably not much.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Questions for the applicant? We'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted. Thank you.
Application 297-24, Joel and Cassandra Aid. Permission to leave patio having side yard of 3 feet and driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence B District, north side of Morton Street, 250 feet east of Lincoln Avenue, Brentwood.
Anybody here?
Slowly.
Oh, he should.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Cassandra Day, and my address is 39 Morton Street, Brentwood.
Thank you. You're here just on the pool pad, patio driveway?
Yes.
No questions.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application 298-24, Michael and Taylor Anding. Permission to erect 2-story addition 6 by 10, leaving floor area ratio of 27.45% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, south side of Academy Lane, 300 feet east of LaSalle Place, Oakdale.
Good evening, sir. If you could just give us your name and address.
Michael Anding, 20 Academy Lane, Oakdale, New York.
Just here on the addition and looking for the FAR.
Yes.
Oh, it's the.
Do you have any comment?
No questions.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Make a motion, we approve the application.
Thank you.
Application number 299-24, Lawrence Tumina. Minia, permission to use dwelling for family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1. Residence B District, southwest corner of West 2nd Street and Lake Report, Ronkonkoma.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New York. We are here tonight to establish a family use only. It's based on medical, and all of the paperwork has been submitted to the zoning board.
Who the family?
It's his brother.
Questions from the board?
No.
Anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Make a motion, we approve the application for a period of 3 years.
Favor?
Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 300-24, Ryan and Chelsea Dugan. Permission to erect 1- and 2-story additions and roofed-over porch, leaving floor area ratio of 30.24% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, west side of Colton Avenue, 1,013.69 feet south of Edwards Street, through lot to Edwards Avenue, Sayville.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, William Garbarino, 40 Main Street, Sayville, New York, for the applicants. We're asking for an FAR variance, and I believe in this area, if you look at the streets and the lots, you will see that the board has granted in excess of what we're asking for in this area.
No questions.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Second. Thank you. Same here.
Can I see more?
I have another one.
Application number 301-24, James and Evelyn Brady, trustees to the Brady Living Trust. Permission to leave second-story deck having side yard of 10.4 feet instead of required 14 feet. Patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Shed having 18.7 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of the required 20. And on-side property line not having a required setback of 2 feet. And shed having side yard of 1.5 feet and rear yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 2 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Vicksburg Drive, 204.34 feet north of Church Street, Holbrook.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, William Garbarino, 40 Main Street, for the applicant. The applicant, husband and wife, are here tonight, as well as some neighbors that are going to speak on the application.
Do you have any questions this time?
No. I have two cases where you've given basically the same variances back in 2003, 2004. The only difference is 0.4 of a foot, not on the line. But if you want to look at it, I'll hand it up.
Which variance? Concerning what? The deck?
No, the side yard for the sheds.
Sheds. Okay.
I'm looking through this and it looks like most of this is minor. I'm missing something.
No, you're not missing anything. I can say that, if you look at this property and you look at the distance between the houses is large. This deck, it's about 104 square foot of deck that doesn't conform. So if you lived across the street and you looked at approximately 140 feet, 138 feet from houses across the street, have the neighbor to the west or next door to the right there. He's here tonight, willing to. He's the one most impacted by the deck. He's the one most impacted by the shed, and he has absolutely no problem. I'll introduce him right now.
While you're doing it, it looks like the only issue is that.
Yes. Yes. And one of the reasons we moved the deck was over the property line. We moved it. The problem why we couldn't move it to conform, I think we're 1.5 rather than 2. The reason for that was because Mr. Brady will tell you for the last 10 to 12 years, he has turtles that hibernate for the winter under that deck. So we could only move it a certain distance. And I don't think you've ever heard that one before.
No, that's a new one.
Yeah, but you haven't heard that one.
Wordle the turtle is under the deck.
I have a picture of him if you'd like to see. No, the turtles that live in the area, and they
Well, he
happen to
told me.
hibernate under his deck. They're about, I have pictures if you want to see them.
Yeah, I want
All
to
right.
see.
No, we just don't, we like him, so he doesn't do anything.
Were they too fast to catch? It's too quick.
They had a baby?
Yeah. If you hand these two up, there they are.
Find out if anybody's in opposition. Nobody's in opposition.
Happy turtles.
I saw this.
They only live like 100 years, so. Yeah.
Like lawyers.
They'll be there longer than the shed.
And he doesn't want to move this place then?
Yes.
Hey, Matt?
All right. Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Well, this is the neighbor. You're the neighbor to the west,
Yes, sir, to the north.
north.
Just give us your name and address.
Matthew Davis, 16 Vicksburg Drive. Yes,
So how do you feel about the application?
I have no problems with, I love the turtles.
Gave you a toy to.
And no, in all seriousness, I have no problem with anything, the shed or the deck. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
No.
Any other questions?
No.
Any comments? Motion then?
Make a motion, we approve the application.
All in favor?
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Now you finish.
I'm not coming back.
Thank you. The turtles aren't coming back either.
Application number 302-24, Christopher and Stephanie Wild. Permission to erect front porch 6 by 18, leaving side yard of 11.5 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to leave 2 air conditioning units having second front yard of 14.5 feet instead of required 27 feet. Residence A District, northwest corner of McConnell Avenue and Academy Street Extension, Bayport.
Good evening, sir. If you could give us your name and address?
Good evening. Christopher Wild, 204 McConnell Avenue, Bayport.
Just, front porch.
Air conditioning units, but I don't see them. They're on the survey, they're not on the photo, right?
Where are the air conditioning units?
They're on the Academy side of the street. The previous owners, we erected a new fence. So we have a 6-foot fence there. Now they used to have a 4-foot fence. So I think it was considered a second front yard. But now we utilize it as a true side yard. So they're behind the fence.
It's really a category. But as you can see, kind of fence. As far as the other part, it's
No.
Anyone else like to be heard in this application? All in favor?
Aye.
Case is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 303-24, Edward and Jeanette Benora. Permission to install 6-foot fence, leaving front yard of 2 feet instead of required 15 feet. Residence B District, east side of Wendover Road, 109.74 feet west of Candy Avenue, Sayville.
Good evening. Can I address the board for
Just
a
give us
moment?
your name and address first.
Edward and Jeanette Benora, 16 Wendover Road, Sayville. Okay. We were here 3 years ago. Some of you might remember, okay? You granted us permission to put a pool on the side yard without the required setback. Okay, due to the irregular shaped property we have. Now we're back, okay, requesting that our 4-foot fence, okay, be allowed to be replaced with a 6-foot fence. Okay, this is in front of the pool, okay, along the street, okay. Now it doesn't quite meet the setback. Okay, I think the literature you read said only 2 feet, okay, but the setback varies. Actually, it's meets compliance by the house, okay. But then as it moves further along the street, okay, as the road curves, you can see, okay, that it becomes a challenge to maintain 15 feet setback.
Just nowhere, well, I understand sloping, but nowhere does it meet the code.
Nowhere does it meet the code. Meets the code up against the house.
No, from the property. Got to be set back underneath the property.
15.
Unless I'm wrong, that's why we ask questions. Or I'm not wrong. What's the closest and what's the furthest from the?
Okay, now you can see
You have to go over here and.
Yeah, that's a fence? Okay.
I have submitted 5 pictures of the application.
Yeah, we have.
That would be a clear indication of front wall.
The reason I ask that is we generally don't allow 6 foot. Are you allergic to that white line? Okay.
Tell me what they were taken.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And the survey I'm looking at here shows a much picture. Well, let me ask you a question.
I submitted 5 pictures.
We have them.
Yeah, I don't care about the picture. I'm looking at the survey, which is what we're kind of married to. And it shows a very different picture than that. This shows the fence right up to the property line.
At the point.
At the point, yes.
Okay, the house is point. The property line, okay, it's not, that's. The problem is, it's not regular shape, my shape.
Hold on, you can't both speak. Speak, let's do it as silly as it is.
Oh, I'm Jeanette Nora. I live, but I'm sorry, is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. The thing is, actually, the road is much wider than. In other words, our property line is quite.
We get it, we see it.
Now.
Yeah.
Fences represent the house.
Okay, that's why we asked, I was looking to the left of that.
I understand the question. I know, here we go. One of the pictures that I submitted south. Across the street is a home with bushes, that are 20 feet tall, surrounding the pool that are right on the street. I prefer on the next hedge up against the property.
That's it, what if the idiots allowed to do it? Wall, anyhow, we don't make, I mean.
Well, that's why, I'm asking.
In application, the attorney, right, is what it is. You could plan there, it doesn't apply.
I can't, I'm asking permission. I don't know.
That's usually you don't. Because what happens is,
General,
There's a 20-foot.
right away, yeah.
So, it is my opinion. Write it up. Yes, but write it up in such a way, moving. In fact, have a very.
trust me, this is your bad.
No.
Yeah, he's arguing on your behalf.
Supporting what you just.
Can't take down. So, could you write it up, explain? Right away, and we don't see that often. And it's only a very minimal area that.
The one corner.
Right.
Away from.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application? Any other comments from the board?
No. Anything?
All All right, I'll take a motion then.
Make a motion, we approve the application.
All in favor? Application
Application number 304-24, Juan Torres, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602. Residence B District, 278 Cluster, west side of Glen Summer Road, 383.27 feet south of Annandale Road, Holbrook.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Charles J. Brudy, architect. Excuse me, 30 Bethesda Lane, Sayville, New York, representing the property owner, Juan Torres. As stated in the call, the property owner is looking to establish permission for an accessory apartment pursuant to the town code. With regards to the apartment itself, it is confined within the perimeter of the house walls, conforms to the code, 640 square feet. Driveway was inspected by engineering and was approved. On my behalf, on the architectural drawings, will abide by the state and town codes as required. All documents have been submitted, and there we have it.
And your client proposed here?
Yes, he is.
You mentioned everything has been submitted,
Yes.
but no, everything has not been submitted.
Yes, there is a glitch, I believe, with the driver's license. So Mr. Torres's license is in his other residence address. And the reason why it's still in that is because of the business that he has. So the business and all the documentations which were established in 2020 have that residence which he still owns, which his siblings live in. He purchased this house in 23, which he, his wife, and children are in and are going to the local school in Homer.
So is there any documentation you can provide proving that his residence is this address?
I have plenty additional documentation. We have homeowners insurance, we have PSEG, we have water bill, everything has his name, address on it for that.
The homeowners didn't matter. Yes. Yeah. Right.
This is what he had given me.
Not earth-shaking, but if he owned it, it would die. Like you care about.
Yes,
You get those bills anyway.
Okay, so you're looking for a mail piece of paper?
I'm just trying to put it out there.
Yeah, I don't,
Second homes,
right,
and they don't,
Only have one resident.
yeah.
right. He, and a signed affidavit from him that he lives there?
Signed affidavit doesn't indicate when he resigned.
Well, it was purchased in 20,
Doesn't say on the affidavit.
Here's my question.
I-
Only one of the things you're concerned about. If somebody said to me, Billy, you prove you live at your address, I can grab this much mail in a week, all the flyers, all the things. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this much. If you live there, I mean, we get it whether we like it or not.
I'm sure he has mail that we could hand in to the board. He is present if you want to ask him when he moved in.
That's what it says.
Sure.
I live in a P.O. box.
Oh, sure.
At night, I got a big one.
How
you doing?
What's your name and address?
Juan Torres, 145 Glen Summer Road, Holbrook, New York, 11741.
And how long have you been living at that address?
since I purchased the home in 2023, November, October-ish. Not too sure about the month.
Got Suffolk County water bill, we got a homeowner's home bills. Your name, we've got an affidavit that you signed, but does not actually indicate the date that you started, began your residence. So this should read what date?
When did you move in?
November 2023.
And why have you never changed your driver's license?
Because I have my business to my mother's house, my insurance, credit card bill. I have like a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry, why do you have to have?
That's my residency also.
You only have one residence.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, coming down the south.
Where do you vote?
Lavin?
Where do you vote?
I don't vote.
Where do you sleep at night?
145 Glen Summer Road in Holbrook. I mean, could I have a neighbor come here and vouch for me? Like, I don't.
So you haven't changed it because you need, why do you need?
I just haven't changed it. It's been a few months. I mean, if it's mandatory, then I could change it.
I'm just wondering.
I just didn't think it was an issue. That's the only reason.
Oh, owner occupancy.
Yes. Yeah, owner occupancy is required for us to grant this. I mean, maybe we give him time to change his address on everything. If we grant you 1 year approval, give you that 1 year to change your license, et cetera, come back, do your license.
Yeah.
And bring in a whole stack of stuff. That was, wow. You never leave that house. That's outside.
I don't know if that's the standard, but, you know.
Does anyone else,
Leaves the house.
does anyone else like to be heard in this application? Anybody? No. All right, then.
Make a motion, we approve the application for a period of 1 year.
Favor?
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yeah.
I do not know. Well, I think they all read the agenda. Yeah. Oh, a couple 7 o'clocks there. I think that was good.
Application number 305-24, Luis Enrique Bermeo and Blanca Astudillo. Permission to leave roofed over patio and decking having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 14 feet, rear yard landscaping of 31.5% instead of required 40%, and 4-foot fence in driveway site triangle where a maximum of 3 foot is permitted. Residence B District, east side of Brook Avenue, 165 feet north of McKay Road, Bay Shore.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Paul Lombardo. I'm representing Mr. Bermeo and Blanca Stradillo. We submitted the application to leave the roofed over patio and deck side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 14. In addition to that, we have the 31% of landscaping instead of the 40%. And a 4-foot fence in the driveway site triangle where the maximum of 3 foot is permitted. Need a bit more information from me?
Okay. Any have any comments on this?
So this property had a previous. You see it, what's a large parking lot? Not really. He should, he's in line with what.
depending on other parties.
It's not great, but
What have we been granting? I know.
I think we were at what, 32? We were at 32, I think.
Was it 30?
We're at 30,
We were at 30?
as low as 30.
I don't know, we have to keep like a running total.
Yeah, I know. We need it.
We right on the wall.
Okay, right. The graffiti. So we've granted 30 instead of 40.
Mhm.
30 and 40.
Depends on the shape of the property.
This is all inside because the rear. Put that on, the rear got even smaller. This wasn't here, the rear was bigger.
Lenny, you have any comments on the fence or?
Same triangle?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too big. 1 year. You said that driveway. Part. This is also getting part of it's right next to the school, so hopefully people like them, so. There's supposed to be something there.
That picture is accurate as of today?
That picture is accurate. I was there to take photographs to submit that you may also have. It wasn't a street view.
Yeah.
I believe, sorry?
You said you were there to photograph and.
And it's what you see there.
You didn't submit the photo.
I didn't submit this photograph. There are other photographs I've submitted, yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Up on junior high. I just want to make sure we have everything that you submitted. Right.
We didn't get anything.
We don't have any, we don't have it.
What I submitted was from inside the property. I sent it in the email.
When?
Well, she wasn't at work on Sunday to tell you she received them. so.
We give her a.
I spoke for Monday.
That's
Are we
okay.
sure it's not? Let me see if it's behind. She would have. That's okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Yes. Okay, sir, if you could just step aside.
Good evening. My name is Robert Torres. We're here on behalf of the Bayshore School District, 75 West Perkle Street, Bayshore, New York.
You say you're on behalf of, are you on the board?
We're employees.
Employees?
Yes.
Of what, in what capacity are you teachers?
Administrators, all three of us.
Are you authorized to speak on behalf of
We are.
How did you come by that authorization? Or resolution? Document? Agreement? What were you given that?
We were not giving a document or a board resolution. We were instructed to be here and by the Assistant Superintendent for Business. Her name is Maureen Versinger.Versinger.
We're trying to find out because people often will say, I hear I'm representing so-and-so and don't know what authority they have. So you're telling us that we're all three administrators?
All three of us.
Yeah,
Mr. Dosky.
Director of Facilities.
Dr. Lemke is the principal of the actual school.
Joseph Lemke, I'm the principal of Brook Avenue Schools at
All right. you was a bit of food with Danielle. That's my sister. Yeah. So, all right, so we
This is a
established
tough
that
corner.
these
You have that big turn.
superintendents will do.
Yes, sir.
What would you like to tell us about the application?
So it's our allegation that this structure, is before your consideration. It's being used, allegedly for commercial purposes. For the past, I guess, 10 years, we've been in communication with the homeowners. Apparently, they use the property for a volleyball league,
Volleyball league.
uh, attracting many vehicles, and those vehicles actually impact traffic, create a nuisance for the area, as well as using our parking lot at the Brook Avenue School. This added traffic and parking also causes a great amount of trash being left there by the participants of this volleyball league that's being held. Yes, sir.
What you have observed, if any, regarding alcohol.
I have here a letter that I actually submitted to Mr. Bermeo back in 2014. And the progress, yes, it is, sir. Okay, so the letter basically indicates exactly what I've told you. They're using the Bayshore Brook Avenue School parking lot in furtherance of the league, the volleyball league that plays there. Sure. Well, if you're looking, if I can show you, sir, the pictures that I do have, the photos I have, it fills our the Brook Avenue School with vehicles. If Mr. Softy, the ice cream truck, is on the property sometimes. So many people there using our facility. It forced us to close the parking lot during the weekends. That letter has a CC to the town, the code enforcement. This was quite a while ago, and again, we're trying to be good neighbors. We've pretty much tried to work with them, but that letter is 2014. So the problem has persisted since then.
Are those a volleyball?
Yes, sir. Well, it may be a misnomer. I don't know if it's illegal or not. I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at I have no personal knowledge about whether it's for commercial purpose or anything, but if you look at the numbers of vehicles parked there and people coming in to play, it leads you to believe that it is commercial in nature.
I know they've closed the parking lot. My kids went to Bayshore School, so I know the parking lot there is closed. When the school's not open, it's locked.
It used to be open.
That's the reason.
Sir.
No, my
Used
kids
to be
played
open.
lacrosse there, so,
Yeah, we used to keep it open to have the community use the jungle gym and what have you, but now, due to this issue, this nuisance, we're forced to close it.
This letter is 10 years old, though.
Sir?
You addressed this letter is 10 years ago.
Yes, that is correct. It's gotten worse since then.
What can we as zoning board do?
right, that's the question.
I understand your concern and not passing this over, but we're concerned about the business.
Right, right, if we deny the variance, I don't know that it solves their problem.
If I could, just that.
Yes.
I think our perspective on this is that what they're requesting the variance for, one of these elements, that structure that's considered an overhang patio. I don't think that we believe that that's a good description of what it is, and that's, it's close to the fence, it's 1 foot instead of whatever the regulation is, 14 feet. We think that that's contributing to the number of people, it's commercial or not. There is a huge number of people that are descending on this property that was erected to contribute, right, toward whatever is happening there, commercial or otherwise, that now has required us to lock down the campus by closing the gates, inhibiting families that attend my school from using the playground and other facilities on the weekend and the evening. That's how it, I think, is related to the zoning board.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to ask that question of you, Nick, and maybe the applicant can help. I don't know that the turf would be counted as grass.
I don't think it would.
Right. Right, so,
Can't see, to be honest.
I think it's in it.
It's counted as landscape, right?
I think it is, yes.
Because otherwise this number would be far more tangible.
Correct.
I think that this needs to.
We need to know what's underneath the turf, I guess, and usually it's a lot of rubber.
It's drainage.
By its nature, not pervious, right?
Right, it's drainage.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't drain as well as.
Is this something, Joe, that code enforcement would look into?
I'm sure they could.
I mean, I'm curious, what is it being? See, what happens is often people say, we think, and I'm not doubting you, I'm saying, we think something is being used for a different purpose, and I don't know, like independent, like the town, they don't have to argue. But I understand that your building is right next door, so you see it every day, so you have a pretty good benefit.
Yeah, and like, Mr. Torres mentioned, it's not that, it's not that. We've had some challenges with some of the things that this is bringing in, right? Like trash left in the parking lot causing us gates, right? We have night events and weekend events at the school. Now the students are, families are unable to participate in this thing. So it's really the structure, the fence. I don't think that we can really say much about that. Inhibiting Brook Avenue School families, the large structure that's on top of the fence that is used, we believe, for whatever they're doing, has an impact on us.
All right, now, we're always concerned about the neighbors, whether it's a school district or a house, you have the right to.
Is there anything else?
No, sir.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? If we could speak to the applicants? Do you have any kind of response to the leagues or whatever?
Well, my name is Luis Enrique Vermel, 43 Brook Avenue, Rachel. All right, we use that as a family on the weekends, which is 2 days, 3 days, when it's nice weather, we get together with family and friends, and we do, little sport in there. Yeah, of course, we have no parking, but we park inside of the property, as much we can. We don't.
But they must be seeing something. Honestly, I've never had the administrators, I've been on the board 15 years. I've never had 3 administrators come from a school district, no less, and say, here's what we see, here's the problem. So they're not coming here because they have nothing else to do. They must be seeing something that is disadvantageous to the school district.
And not only that, we also have our rear landscaping. We don't know if the percentage is correct.
Right.
They reached out to you about 10 years ago about this issue, right?
Yeah, that was, that time everything was open. For a lot of people, they used to go there, not the people that come to my house. It was other
Cars
people.
will be there on a volleyball night. Approximately.
8 cars, 10 maximum.
8, 10?
Yeah.
We're just at curiosity when we're finished.
And they all park on your property?
Yep.
Well, now they do, they lost the gate. Right. But they shouldn't have to. No, I know, I'm not saying, I'd like to hear if we may, I just want to hear how many cars, hear from the, would you give these?
Is there anything else you'd like to say to us? City administrators?
No.
Oh, okay.
And I really like the opportunity to dress down. Using the other way around. Mr. Lemke. Looking at your attendance record.
Yeah, I mean,
Quite surprised.
I've seen in excess of 30 calls on the weekends. Again, since we closed the gates, it was also other neighbors. That's become a nuisance for them because now that you can't park in that adjacent parking lot, 30 to, I would go even beyond that, more than 30 cars are parking all wherever they can in that neighborhood.
You can't use the playground, correct? So,
Well, you have to, you can't park on the property. And you can now fight the traffic and the other cars for the volleyball situation. You park a quarter mile away and walk.
I'd like to make mention also of the trash behind your bottles. But that has to be cleaned up every Monday.
And that was the reason for locking the gates, contributed to our erecting a fence on the property.
No, I'm struck that the administrator, I mean, it's not like neighbors have Jones for one wants to come. I mean, I've never had a school district say, hey, that needs it. The neighborhood, wow, that litter, people are being blocked for public facility. That's one of the only, but it's rare you get to cite that one. You're raising the height, almost. That's a throw, like throwing the walk on down, trying. Wow, yeah. That is.
Yeah, it appears to be, yes.
Well built. That was my point before. I'm not sure how that can be characterized as is it over patio, over something?
We called it a roofed over patio.
What is that structure? Is that like an indoor volleyball court?
What I've observed is that's the place where we hang out before we play volleyball.
Let's ask the applicant, sir, what is that building? I mean, it looks like a mini gym. What is it? Also, it's not. It's closed.
It's been a deck for about 10 years, more than that, a deck.
Again?
A deck.
But it's enclosed.
And then we close over the deck.
What is in the enclosed area, under the roof?
May I speak?
Yeah, sure.
Inside it's a deck with household, there's a grill, a gas grill.
The gas grill inside that?
Well, there's there's not, do you have a gas grill inside there?
No.
But he's had it there. I mean, that was a deck where they used to have a barbecue and it was a residential deck. Yeah, I mean, this was taken when they did the construction work.
Is there a chimney in
What it doesn't
that?
show is the railings and the deck base. It's basically a deck that was painted blue that he had for about 10 years and then decided to put a roof over it. And it's just covering, sorry?
Overhead lights, that's the night volleyball. All right, this is a little excessive.
Oh, is that a?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't have a permit when it was open. This is really starting to take on.
And is there a chimney in that structure?
Had no permit when you built that, right?
That's
It wouldn't be here.
Lights, no.
Yeah, there was no permit.
Those solar lights still exist?
Yes.
Yeah, John, I'm pretty sure, yeah. You have those should be on the survey, I mean, those are the old underneath. Yeah, that's. You know, I've just never had a school district come in because they want to oppose Mrs. D'Amico's deck is 3 inches larger than it should be. It must be something driving them. It's not that they have nothing else to do. That's why I'm saying is I'm giving them credit. Where's that chimney going? That, what is the conception?
Prior to that roof going on, there was a chimney for the kitchenette.
So it's further, right?
It's further in.
Okay.
It's further in.
There's not a kitchen in the deck, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's just an open deck, unheated. You just put a roof over it, basically, with plexiglass windows and.
Any more questions for the applicant? Do you guys have anything else to say or?
Nope.
All right, then I'll take a motion.
To deny the application.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application's denied.
Application number 306-24, Stephen and Jamie Taff. Permission to leave rear yard landscaping of 37% instead of required 40%, and fence atop retaining wall servicing as pool barrier, leaving combined height of 7.2 feet instead of permitted 6 feet. Residence B District, south side of Barron's Court, 67.97 feet west of Lincoln Avenue, Sayville.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Taff, and I live at 6 Barron Court in Sayville. And as the application says, the fence on actually my side of the property is 6 feet from the retaining wall, but on the other side, it is over 7 feet. And as noted, I'm 3% below the requirements or above for my patio. That's me right there. Yep, highlighted. So along the southern part of the property, that is where the fence, and it's not 7 foot across the whole because my property dips in the corner. So it gradually exceeds the height limit, I guess, on the other side.
So the combined, that's, correct me if I'm wrong, combined height.
Yes.
In just one corner.
Just talk. It gradually goes from that southeast corner from 7.2 there from that, and then it gradually is in code to the other corner because I'm level there. I sent pictures during the application to,
We have them.
but he's looking at something else.
How much of the fence is set? 3 feet?
What do you mean? Like my white fence is, the posts are 7 foot too high. My fence is on my retaining wall on my side of the property.
But I know, but that has to be on the side of it.
Yeah, so it's 6 foot, on my side of the property, it's 6 feet. Say your name and.
Give me your name and address.
Hi, my name is Jamie Taff. I live at 6 Barron Court. What happened is the land was on a decline, so we had a pool put in and they had to make it level. So when you look at the fence from the yard, it's straight, but because it was on a decline, it starts off level with not touching the soil. And as it gradually goes, it gets taller in maybe 2 sections of the, 1.5 sections of the fence.
But our concern is that on the other side of the fence, the neighbors are looking at 7.2 feet.
I have pictures of him taking of our yard, and he wants to see in the yard for some particular reason that concerns me and makes me very uncomfortable.
You have young kids?
I have young children, and it's very concerning multiple times.
These are not him taking pictures of our fence, it's him taking pictures of our house where our bathroom.
That's a separate issue with zoning. Zoning, we have to look at the physical structure. We can't, hang on, we can't throw out the zoning code because somebody has, let's say, a lesbian child. That would then allow your other neighbor to say, oh, I think you look, so I want to build a 50. I'm saying, where does that end? We only look at the physical structure. The who, what, where, why, when. That may be a law enforcement issue.
It's not really.
Civil lawsuit issue. That's not our concern. We can't base it on what other people do. So, it's like when somebody says, I had a corrupt builder or a bad builder, and he built it 10 feet too high. Can't let the builders drive how it's going.
So it is a 6 foot fence on their side, but because of these kinds of things from the motion. So while it's 6 foot on their side, it's 7 point how the neighbors really is. The reason for that is because the property is higher recently.
Yes, if you look at the survey, that's.
From what I understand, the grading is not in part.
It's all, everything is permitted. We just had, this town there has been there numerous times.
Had a permit. But what's it not? It was a pool. Right, so it was part of the application,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, you need a fence. Goes in. We wouldn't get a fence.
Okay.
There's no permit.
They probably got caught when they went to find the city. They probably. Yeah, the neighbor's fence from
Well, his fence is lower than to us too, so we, how, like, so how are we going off of?
Our problem, I'll show you what we're looking at, is there is your fence, right, and there's the neighbor is safe. And so we have the neighbors looking from their perspective at the whole wall of the fence.
No, you're right.
What's a perspective, a picture that's taken in perspective to show that it's more favorable and makes it look worse? Pictures have a very interesting way of,
I don't think this picture is telling different.
and do you notice how his fence declines? It goes lower?
You don't want me to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude.
I don't understand your perspective argument head on, correct? You see about 1.5 foot your white fence over there. I don't think the picture is fine.
Well, it's only 1.2 feet, right? Because we got,
0.2 higher than the code. Yeah, but
yes.
the neighbor has to almost be boxed in by your fence. They're complying with it. And we're, so that's.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
Even school districts.
So that's why we're here. We're asking for permission to, because when we're on, this is the idea is that when we're on our pool patio, I have an 8-year-old, I have a 12, 13-year-old daughter, I have a 15-year-old son. They stand over, if I have to cut that 1.5 feet off of my fence, then they're visible from the street of Lincoln Avenue, of the neighbor who's taking pictures of my house. I'm just trying to have some privacy in my,
But everyone in the town is compliant with this code. Nobody else,
I understand, but that's why they said I could apply for a variance to try to,
I don't remember the last time we did the 7 foot fence.
you just gave somebody over there a permission to go over the requirements. He was supposed to have a 4-foot fence and he said he can keep his 6 foot, said he can go to 6 foot. You just did it though.
And you're at almost 7.5.
So you want us to cut our fence down, so.
But you just, you said it doesn't happen. You just did it.
It's only in
No,
2
it's very,
sections.
very different circumstance. And we were talking about 4 feet up to 6 feet. You're talking about.
But it's still code.
Over 7.
It's still, you're still saying it's still,
Well, we disagree, but I think those are very different circumstances. The reason we granted that is you need to have 14 foot setback at the fence. There was in the front yard, there was a 20-foot right of way. So there was in excess of 14. Even though it wasn't his, driving down the road would be set back 20 feet. Under those circumstances, it wasn't.
we have circumstances too. Like there's always circumstances to a situation.
The circumstances there are, if the fences are allowed. Only allowed if you can see.
So if I decided to cut 1.5 feet off it and then the other 1.5 feet, I put a chain link across it, I would be in, and am I right?
The whole fence?
If you wanted to have one.
So I could do 4 feet.
Why is that? What?
Do not have 7-foot fence.
You're allowed up.
I do not believe that to be true. I've driven around and I've seen fences over 6 feet.
On a retaining wall, a 6-foot fence. It's a retaining wall with a 6-foot fence.
Okay, I mean, that's your perspective.
All right, so what about though, I mean, if I have to cut the fence, I have to cut a fence. What about the other part?
Does anyone else like to be heard in this application?
Landscaping is fine.
Landscaping is fine, 37%. Yeah.
Nothing that hasn't already been said.
Sure.
It's not the whole fence, so I don't know how to, so you want the fence to be on a decline? Trying to understand.
So the fence all across the back part there is not all 7 feet, too. It's only,
only that section that's above 6 feet high.
So if I, for where my survey is going from, so I could have to take 1.2 foot off there, 1.2 foot off the next one, 1 foot off the next one, 8 inches off the next one.
About as tall as possible. Assuming that his calculation. I don't want to. Yeah, it has to be 6 feet.
Okay.
On the retaining wall,
The total maximum height.
with the retaining wall. I'm just trying to understand this.
No, they're saying from the from
It's 6 feet total in height from grade.
grade, from where it's the lowest. So if we move the fence forward, and what would happen then? Even, so the retaining wall has nothing to do with it?
The retaining wall is combined.
Yes. Okay, so that doesn't matter, is essentially, right? Like, it's from where his property line is, doesn't matter. Yes, yeah. Okay.
Put the fence, make it look good.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the landscaping's been granted, but the fence has got to.
How long do we have to cut the fence?
Got to bring the fence down to 6 feet.
I know, but how long do we have to do that?
Well, when did you want to close your pool permit out?
I already closed it. They closed it already. I got, it was everything, the permit's been, I had him there 3 weeks ago, and it was, I have it in my email, I was past all inspections, so.
Well, typically, if it's here in response to the building department sending you here, I guess the building department sent you here, they gave you the CO, but said you have to seek a variance for the fence?
That's the building, yeah.
They're going to come out and inspect.
No one said they were coming out. I mean,
What brought you here?
I applied for a variance. We had a violation.
There we go. So that's what then controls how long you have to do it, not us.
So you got something in district court that you have to.
Oh, I have nothing yet. What happened is, like, this has been ongoing, so.
It's not here. What they're saying is whoever gave you or said they were going to give you a violation, you have to deal with them. We don't do enforcement. We don't do enforcement.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no.
Thank you. Application number 307-24, Sean Gregory. Permission to erect second-story addition resulting in floor area ratio of 33.6% instead of permitted 25%. To erect shed leaving 12 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet. To leave hot tub having rear yard of 5 feet instead of required 10 feet. And gravel on side property line not having a required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, north side of Boyd Avenue, 162.5 feet west of Degnon Boulevard, Bay Shore.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mary Gregory, 15 Boyd Avenue, Bay Shore. I'm here representing my husband, Sean Gregory. The main purpose of this appeal is to request an FAR variance of 33.56% or an additional 164 square foot of gross floor area in order to construct a second floor addition as to accommodate 2 bedrooms and a bathroom for our growing family. We currently have 2 small children, and the home is 1.5-story Cape Cod with 2 bedrooms. The inability to add 2 additional bedrooms will force us to move, which would be an exceptional hardship for us. For this addition, we have consulted an architect and think our proposal will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood and will not be encroaching on any height or property line setbacks. I would like to point out that my home was built with an open, non-habitable breezeway that is connecting our home to a legal accessory apartment that was existing since 1988, and we legalized as soon as we moved into the house in 2020. This non-habitable breezeway is contributing to 4% of this FAR calculation because it is considered gross floor area by Code Section 68-3. We were originally proposing to remove the 300 square foot breezeway to put the square footage to better, sorry. Some breath.
Very nice job.
Great job.
Great job.
Thank you.
What we do is we have to look to make a character neighborhood. What is existing? And I had spoken with our planning rep, Nick, and he said it's between 31 and 30%. So, we approximately, we granted as high as 32, we could grant 30%. can't go as high as you like to pay, we haven't granted that in the past, and then we would have to grant it to everybody else, and then 33.6. 8, 34, 35.
There is a couple of them about where you for what I can see. Yeah. It may be speaking. Not what it is.
So, we're talking about 140. Your architect has to lose 140.
Give you 32 and you walk out the door. Oh, my sort of
Thumbs up. And the baby didn't even start crying yet. Right, okay. Okay,
Good?
sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone else like to be heard in this application? No? Take a motion.
Motion to deny that portion of the application that includes the floor area ratio of 33.6%, 5%, and grant 3%, grant balance of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job. Putting everybody else out of business.
Yeah, no, read it tonight.
Yeah.
Application number 149-24, adjourned from March 12, 2024, William and Lauren Demuth. Permission to erect one-story addition, 7.5 by 28.3, leaving side yard of 11.26 feet instead of required 14 feet, and total side yards of 27.96 feet instead of required 28 feet. To leave shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and to expand driveway leaving side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Manor Lane, 650 feet north, 7th Street, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Gennaro Cozzolino for the homeowners, William and Lauren Demuth of 980 Manor Lane, Bay Shore. We're requesting relief from the board to build a 7.5 by 28.3 foot, one-story side addition. Proposed addition requires a variance for minimum side yard setback, requesting to build at 11.26 feet from permitted 14 feet, a difference of 2.74 feet. Variance for total yard setback, requesting to build at 27.96 feet from permitted 28 feet, a difference of 0.04 feet.
Let me ask you a question, sir. What does the neighborhood have precedent for 11.46 instead of 14?
Approximately 11 feet. We did, this is our second time in front of the board.
Why was it adjourned?
11 feet, between 11 and 12 feet.
So the neighborhood holds 11 feet.
There's about 2 cases around there, so. It does seem that there's. Not
one story.
It does not make the neighborhood character.
But if it's not, it's special.
Yes, you did. You did.
Oh, we told you to come back.
Mhm.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
Any other questions from the board?
May I
Anyone else
continue?
who'd like to be heard in this application?
Shall I continue or?
I think you're winning.
Okay.
Okay. Planning any other comments? Would you like to be heard in this application, sir? Okay.
Richard Gallagher, 978 Manor Lane, Bay Shore, New York, 11706.
Where are you in relation to next door?
We're next door to the property. Gallagher.
Are you in favor of this or against?
We're against one part of it, the driveway, the third lane of a driveway that would bring the driveway to within 1 foot of our property line.
Gallagher, you realize that it's very small property, right?
But it is on the property line to our side of the driveway. And it would place that third driveway, which is a precedence. There are no houses on Manor Lane that have 3 lanes of driveway. And the noise from additional traffic on that.
No, he's talking about this area right here.
all the time.
Yeah, but is it?
And there's vegetation along through there that would be taken down to put in another lane of pavement. And that's what we're against. And then speaking to the homeowner there, he told us he was willing to take out, to not do the driveway.
You zoom in on the picture.
No, it's just, it's the blue line should be the end of the white fence.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Right.
I mean, we're in favor of the addition, but we just don't want the driveway that close to the property line. And our front window would be looking out basically at a driveway to the one side.
What would they have, be able to have 3 cars abreast?
They would if they add that another lane of driveway, yes.
See the applicant in their head, so why don't we give her?
I think that you're I don't think, my reading of the survey and the plot plan is correct. I don't think the actual driveway itself is gonna be extended any closer to the property line. I think it's adjacent to the house. So it's gonna shimmy out, and there's gonna be a parking area next to the house, if I'm reading the survey correctly.
That's what-
So I don't think, yeah, I don't think that your, yeah, this area, I don't think that your front window's gonna be looking out onto this giant expanded driveway. Yeah, and instead of.
Let's hear from the applicant, please. So you heard from this gentleman, you already have parking at the driveway. Want to be able to add more parking. Why can't you have 5?
We initially applied for an attached garage originally, and it turned into just needing more storage. So now the reason for the expanding of the driveway is future, they might want to do a detached. So they're going to need a
Why don't you worry about that when they apply for the tax? I don't understand. Groundwork now, so in 10 years, you apply for it. That doesn't seem like the logic for, hey, you want to put
It's not even going to be, okay.
you want to put a detached garage, we want to enlarge the driveway now. It's a non sequitur. I don't understand how one comes to the other.
It's just additional parking.
Well, okay, that's different than what you just said.
I mean,
I get it for additional
parking. It's not 3 lanes, as you see from the plot plan. There's a jog.
Another question? Like to speak, want to give us a name? Like to speak.
William Demuth, 980 Manor Lane, homeowner. I don't know who spoke on the board, but you're correct. It's not a driveway all the way to the street. It kind of widens out as you get to the house, and so that is our intent. And to Mr. Gallagher's point, it is going to be used as a walkway to get to the back of the yard, and if 1 foot isn't working for him, we'll increase that a little bit. We'll increase it a little bit. It's not a problem. Right. Yeah, it's really to. Well, they won't see it from the front of the house because, like somebody on the board had just said, it's going to be widened on the side, and that side of the house has no windows. So that's all I'm asking for is an ability to get to the back through it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
sign that portion of the application relating to the driveway and the
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, okay, we could have cut it back as the homeowner,
You got that in?
4 feet. Okay,
You're allowed by code.
thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Application number 308-24, Andrew and Sari Warshaw. Permission to erect one-story addition, leaving first floor elevation of 9.9 feet instead of minimum required 11 feet, and to leave patio on front property line not having required setback of 15 feet. Residence BAA District, east side of Dune Way, 64 feet south of Neptune Walk, Seaview. Yeah, this is an interesting one.
They're going down.
My name is Joel Silverberg. I'm the architectural designer of this house, which was built in 2001. And I've was asked about a year ago, or maybe a little bit earlier than that, to entertain the idea of doing some additions to the house because the family has changed. There was a mother involved who needed an aid, and we made a plan. The plan was presented to you in February of last year, and there was a hearing in 2022, excuse me. There was a hearing held, and it was approved, the expansion of the house, which, right here. Yes.
Basically, you want to build at elevation 9.9 instead of the minimum 11.
Correct.
But normally people want to go higher than that.
Well, no, the issue is that the entire house is at 9 feet. And so that in order to expand any rooms on the ground floor, we would have to have a step up into that. It's extraordinarily expensive just to get an additional, 200 square feet of space. It was approved by you in February of 22.
So, let me just, if you don't mind, let me ask Nick. The town wants people to build in flood zone, right? That's because floods, they don't want the house to be.
The goal is to move the town towards a time as small as possible. Currently, variance is below design flood, county below code over that. In trend, affect overall community resiliency, possibly long-term insurance rates.
But I don't think it's going to be a trend. It's the first one I've ever seen.
According to the building department, there's more.
Since October 12th, how many we see? The lower.
There's a few more coming.
I don't see the harm here, because if it floods, the rest of the house is going through, what are we gonna say?
Additionally, if the homeowner wants to take that risk, not on them.
Wow.
In the sense, for their own
Flood
personal
insurance.
house, yes, flood insurance rates are on.
Right.
The town is granting below the standards. People might come and consider that. Doing our best.
Does that ever happen? I have no, I mean, I have no.
I don't know.
Mr. Silverberg, how big is the addition?
The addition is around 200 square feet total.
How big is the house?
1,800. The existing house is 1,800.
I'm not so much as worried.
But I would just tell you that probably 75% of the houses in this neighborhood were built at this FEMA elevation to begin with 20 years ago or before. So all of the houses are in trouble then.
And whoever else. The house is existing at 9.9. So if a flood happened, heaven forbid tomorrow, and it went 10 feet, the house is underwater. So, right, but not its deck. So the house didn't make this application is in peril anyway, but there's nothing the town can do. Right? So adding 200 square feet and now going to make this a huge issue that FEMA's going to come in and raise the entire town to complete.
It might not be the case. I can't say that for
It
sure.
seems
I think the
something-
goal is about the direction.
It's not as though
It's that precedent word, right? Isn't that what he's concerned about?
It's not as though the application was, I want to build a 3,000 square foot at 9.9. 200. Actually,
Is it FEMA at 9 plus 2 of the New York State, like it's FEMA plus 2?
Correct.
Base flood elevation plus.
All right, and the base flood elevation here is 2. Is 9, right? That's how we get to 11.
No, it's, well, okay, yeah, New York State is base flood elevation plus 2 for design.
Okay.
Yes. Base flood elevation is 9, design flood is 11.
So he's over base flood elevation.
He's over the base flood. It's below the minimum standing in state.
Okay.
I don't see the harm.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this application?
There was a question about the second part of the deferral when we first made the application, which is regards the front yard and has to do with pavers that were.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Patio on.
Okay, so now what actually happened in the village of, or the unincorporated village of Seaview was that about 10 years ago, they paved all of the streets with pavers. And in that process, they offered the people who were doing the work, offered the owners, if they could continue them into the entry of the buildings, you would just have to pay for the pavers themselves.
You know what, you got it covered.
Okay. Okay.
Second. Aye.
They don't want it.
Good luck. Hope it doesn't flood. On you.
Thanks.
Yeah, those 200 feet are on you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes,
Water and
yes.
Seaview.
Yeah, if we see that, we're all in trouble.
Application number 309-24, John and Lori Capozzi, permission to erect one-story addition, 6 by 14, leaving side yard of 8 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, west side of Fairway Drive West, 79.48 feet south of Puritan Road, Sayville.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. I'm Vincent Arlema from Vincent Arlema Architect, located at 2135 Newbridge Road, Belmore. I'm representing Mr. and Ms. Capozzi, located at 4 Fairway West, Sayville. This home was originally built with a side yard setback of 8 feet on the south side of the property instead of the required 14 feet. My client is just looking to extend their bedroom a modest 6 feet into the rear yard. They're not asking to reduce the existing side yard at all. They're looking to maintain it. We also did reach out to Mr. Nicholas Barbello to see if it stayed within the nature and character of the neighborhood. His concern was if it was 2 stories. It is 1 story, which is similar to the neighboring properties.
So the extension is 6 feet long?
It just goes out 6 feet wide into the rear yard, 6 feet by 14 feet, 84 square feet total.
Oh, wait, slow down. Way too fast.
Sorry.
The offending side, is that 6 feet or 4 feet?
6 feet.
So you're continuing the 8-foot distance, another 6.
Correct.
Nick, is that the subject right there?
Yep.
Yes. Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Any comments?
No, it's.
Take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Application number 310-24, Stephen McCarthy, permission to erect one-story addition, 8 by 8.7, leaving side yard of 8.3 feet instead of required 14 feet, and one-story addition, 15.2 by 19.8 irregular, resulting in total side yards of 24.1 feet instead of required 28 feet, and to leave driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Foster Avenue, 506.92 feet south of Edwards Avenue, Sayville.
Hi, board. I'm Steve McCarthy,
owner of 232 Foster Avenue. And she's right, everything she said.
Well said, man. All right, so we have the planning. Any comments on this?
The additions are in line. Slightly lower total side yard.
Any questions from the board on this?
No questions.
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Sullivan, I'll take a motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Application number 311-24, Ronald Gonen. Permission to install above-ground pool leaving rear yard of 15.3 feet instead of required 25 feet, and deck leaving rear yard of 8.3 feet instead of required 15 feet. Residence BAA District, east side of Compass Walk, 325 feet south of roadway, through lot to Sexton Walk, Robbins Rest.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Graham with Graham Associates, representing Ronald Gonen, the owner. After speaking with Nick and planning and Mary, we understand there's some neighborhood concern about the size of the pool and the setback. So we spoke to the owner, and we'd like to amend the application. The amendment would be to requesting a 21.3 rear yard setback instead of 25. We'd also like to amend the deck to 10.5 instead of 15.
Instead of 8.3, 10.5?
Yes, the 8.3 would be 10.5, and I think we originally were requesting 15 point something. We're going to bring that to 21.3, or only a 15% reduction in the code. If you could unroll that sheet in front of you, that's the site plan. That sheet is 3.7 feet wide. That is the variance I'm requesting. And in yellow is the pool. We've not only reduced the setbacks, we've cut the pool in half.
Graham, what type of question?
Well, as you're aware, Robbins Rest is in the middle of nowhere. There's no precedent for the pool other than a grant of 14 and change was given to a homeowner that faces the National Seashore property, so they didn't have any rear yard neighbors. So I had to look beyond this 2-block radius, and the nearest pool in Summer Club is at 18.3. No. I just changed the call to 21.3.
Yeah.
Pool. Not only did we reduce, I cut the pool in half the size we were originally asking for too. I think so. The length of that paper is the variance we're asking for. Well, if we don't get that variance, it's going to be close to that size. And just to be clear, there's 5 lots in Robbins Rest that are allowed to have pools. 3 of them already have pools. And this lot is, we're going to put a pool on it no matter what. It may only be 6 feet wide, but this board routinely grants 15% reductions on variances for pools, both on Fire Island and on the mainland.
Planning, any comments on this?
No, not much to add on that. Standards for pools on Fire Island are all cheaper than 21.
We granted 50% on Fire Island.
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Armentano. I'm an attorney with Farrell Fritz. Yes, Armentano. Obviously, this matter has changed dramatically since we were retained, which was on Thursday. So I just wanted to have the board bear with me and not to take too much of your time, but I think, having this dramatic change in the call of the meeting is a little odd for the night of the hearing, actually minutes before the hearing. So we would respectfully request an adjournment, just to, that's fine. Again, regardless, that this change, there are some pieces of information. Yeah.
We don't like to reserve or adjourn if we don't have to, unless it's a really significant reason. Let's go through it, 21, 23, 25, something ran.
I'm not sure that's on Robin's Rest. I mean, you're talking about a very unique area. That's fine, but I'm saying I have not even seen the plan that's being discussed. My clients are here. We just want, maybe you can table this for a moment so we can look at it. That would,
You only have one set of plans.
that's the applicant's issue.
Okay, let's give them a set of the plans. You can take 5, 10 minutes, go out, find and maybe solve a letter.
That's fine. Also, I will do that, but I wanted to also raise the issue that the Finns also commented on this application with a coverage of 38%. Now, I don't know if that's been qualified to them. This application seems to be shifting in the sands as we speak, so I'm not sure we have exact.
No,
Well, no,
that's their requirement.
well, I think the town is obligated to adhere to the seashore. I mean, it's in the code. Your code does speak to that.
Not obligated to adhere to it. I think it just subjects them to condemnation by the seashore.
We rarely,
We are obligated to refer, which we did.
so why don't we do this?
Yes.
That's not binding on us. I understand.
Understood.
Why don't we give you a copy? You can choose to recline.
I appreciate that.
Come back and address it.
Be great. Thank you.
So we'll move on and then
Yeah, we'll
take as much time as you want.
We'll table this.
See you like at 11:30.
You'll see him at 11:30.
There you go.
You're right here.
Application number 312-24, Jeffrey Sperling, permission to leave roofed over porch 6.9 by 47, having front yard of 12.2 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 20 feet. Residence B District, south side of Prospect Avenue, 100 feet west of South Clinton Avenue, Bay Shore.
Good evening, sir. Give us your name and address, please.
Jeffrey Sperling, 2 Prospect Avenue, Bay Shore, New York.
Okay, so yeah, this one was previously approved. Now 2 feet closer.
9 inches, according to the zoning board. I'm sorry, the zoning department. That's what Teresa said, because I said I'd remove one board, which would be 5.5 inches, and she said, you're still not meeting it. She said, why don't you go have a hearing?
Yes, that's fine.
And what did we grant?
I have it as the prior grant was for a roof over porch at 14.
You said originally 4.5.
So when we grant something.
We sent them out in the hall, so.
Well, during the time, I had an original surveyor, and during the process of getting permits and doing it, I switched surveyors, which could have a tendency to get you different numbers. I understand 100% that it shouldn't, but it does.
But when we grant something, and we grant what we think is appropriate, and then it goes beyond that, that's not on us, that's on you. Unfortunately, every reason. then if we set up the paradigm that we say A, and then we become B, we can come back and say, we can go. That doesn't work out. Buildings.
I did.
All right.
I want to fire that guy right
Yeah,
now.
immediately. Why didn't you comply? What's the point of us having a decision to not follow?
I don't disagree with you. You're 100% correct. I am wrong. I didn't gain anything by this mistake. We moved out of the home when we knocked it down. We moved into my mom's house, and during that time I had a hip surgery, and thank God it was my house and not a customer's house.
Planning, do you have any comments on that? There's not really any. It is a porch. It is a property. Forwards. But I do think it's notable that one porch is off against approachments. That's only a concern. In this case, I think besides the porch, to see that that's so that does make it more difficult.
Out. So it's a very short street with very few houses on it. And as you can see, there's no coveted front yard setback line to hold here. So each of the houses on this side of the street, and there's only 3, have different front yard setbacks. And, well, one faces South Clinton.
This lot's like an L. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Sure. I'm fine with it.
Favor?
Aye.
Should we ask if anybody's opposed? After the yes, does anybody wish to be heard? Everybody's- Yeah, alrighty then, let's do it.
They're out there haggling.
Application number 313-24, 778 Montauk Highway LLC. Permission to erect 2-story medical building leaving front yard of 10 feet instead of required 25 feet, second front yard of 20 feet instead of required 25 feet, and floor area ratio of 28.63% instead of permitted 25%, and to install 6-foot fence on second front property line not having required setback of 10 feet. General Service Transition District, southwest corner of Montauk Highway and West Bay Drive, West Islip.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the applicant, Joseph F. Bazell, firm Bazell Bland of Visconti, 535 Broad Hollow Road, Suite B4 in Melville. 2 points regarding the call. The first is the request for the fence, I believe, is in error. The plans actually say the fence tapers from a point 15 feet from the property line. So I don't believe he needs a fence variance. What? I was about to. I'll give it to you. The second is the engineers made a typographical error in calculating the FAR. It is actually 26.32. That is reflected on the revised plans I just turned in now.
You're sending up revised plans. Is it still 10 feet instead of 25?
Yeah, the setbacks are exactly the same.
25 feet.
Well, if you look at the site plan, right, it's a corner lot, but there's also high tension lines that run down the middle of the property. And the curb, the existing facility is set further rear than us.
No, what I'm saying is, my perspective, I don't think we're giving you the 10. I mean, you can go on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll explain why it's there, and if you want, I'll start with that. Understanding something about the site, I think, helps a little bit. The alternative, well, you have to, basically, to get the numbers right, okay? Well, you have,
You can apply if you want. Of course you can apply, the existing building applies, or it comes close.
the existing building doesn't comply with parking.
Well, that's not our concern, we're looking at, so these buildings aren't our illumination. And they said, I use. But I drive through it.
He doesn't like Queens.
10 feet is too close. 10 feet, maybe the rest, here you have.
Can't you say Brooklyn once in a while, you know?
Yeah,
Some of us, our families came from Queens, you know? Yes, they do.
Well, I'll,
They want to return and go back and work on it. It's way too close.
having been through this, I was the second attorney on this site, but I've been here for 2 years. If, no, but I think I understand where my client's coming from. And my point is, if I tell that to the client, I know what he's going to do. He's going to put the property on the market and to reopen the restaurant, because that's what it was. That the building's still there. You know, it's a salvageable building. I think the medical office is a very positive change of this particular property. But if you look at the property, right, that building has a rear yard of like 36 feet. This has a rear yard of 88. And if you're going to put parking on the site behind, like, basically, the building has to be in the easterly portion of the site because the curb cut has to be in the westerly portion. Those two curb cuts don't function. One is right on top of the intersection. One is in the middle of the site. You can see it doesn't line up with the parking area. So, and then you've got the high tension lines running down the middle at a spot where it's only 135 feet deep, okay? So the building pushes to the east. So either it gets set forward or it gets set back. Forward gives the neighbor a lot more privacy, gives him a lot more space and room to enjoy his property. The restaurant as it exists has 17 or 18 parking spaces to get up to a real number. And the restaurant actually parks on the office building to the west. You can see the little arrows where restaurant customers pull over onto the other site. So to put any reasonable amount of parking on this site for any kind of use, you're going to have to park more than simply on the west side of the property. The curb cut's going to have to go on the west side because it's got to be away from the intersection and it's got to tie into that particular piece of property. You have a distance from rear yard to front of 135 feet. We've upped the buffer to 20 feet. At one time, that was 14. We could reduce the buffer to 14 and push the building back 6, but that was not something the neighbor wanted and was not something the planning department wanted. But it's not a particularly big building, but you need to put 2 rows of parking. Like if you add a 20-foot buffer, right? You have 135 feet of depth because you can see the line cuts in. You have the light, then you have the LIPA lines. We're putting a 20-foot rear buffer where there's virtually no rear buffer now. Most of those trees are either thin or brush or don't really do anything. There are some that will keep, but it's not a real buffer. And that's the adjacent home of Mr. Robert Raffa, who is here. And the biggest issue to him was getting a buffer and not getting a restaurant back. The restaurant has a setback of 36 feet. We have 82.7, which is 2.3 times that. But 2 rows of parking, rows of parking, 1 backup aisle is 62 feet. Sidewalk behind the building, 6.8 feet, with the rear buffer, 88.8 feet. So your envelope is very limited. Either the building goes up or it goes back. If we tried twisting it sideways, but it reduced the parking and put it on top of West Bay Drive. 36. It's for that particular, again, if the property,
That doesn't mean, because it doesn't work, doesn't mean that it make a bigger building, make a better number.
it's a question, redevelopment is all about what's there now and what could be there.
I understand that.
You know, it was a restaurant.
The town, I understand that, but the town has a code, and it's compliance, or they comply, right, close enough.
Look, we,
Their idea of what complies is not. in line-
I would say this now, we would reduce the rear yard buffer.
Sacrifice the code for your client to have more profit.
No, so this site can be developed in a more positive way. If you mapped out all this,
Your client's.
look, I've seen that site. I think that site's an eyesore,
It is.
you know?
Maintained by your client.
Well, because he's not running a restaurant. It was not his intent. If somebody bought the property to run a restaurant, they would maintain it to the point it previously was.
Client owns the property now, and you're saying, well, it's not maintained well, but if we give you what you want, now they'll maintain it. That doesn't jive.
Well, he secured, at the behest of the fire marshals, he secured the site. He cleaned up debris that was on the site. No, look, I'm not expecting any applause, but he's maintaining it to he's not going to put money into the building. He's not going to put in new windows or add a roof. That's what the site would need.
Well, I understand that that's a business decision that normally doesn't involve us. But since you raised it, you opened the door and said, well, he's going to improve the area. That's what.
No,
Let me finish. That's when this is going to wait a while. He owns it now. So you raised it
I raised it in a limited context,
and we responded.
that the property is what it is. And well, it's a vacant building.
But it doesn't have.
No, he could put it on a market and sell it as a restaurant. He could.
Or you could sell it as something else. It's not sell it.
Well, if you can't redevelop the site, at some point economics drive everything. And if you can't,
You can sell something else and you plug it alone. You're not saying it has zero value.
it's not a condemnation case, Mr. Waxler. The architects looked at a variety of options.
You want us to approve a 60%.
No, I'm not saying it's unsubstantial. I wouldn't. You know, and I would say this, we would reduce the rear buffer to provide more front yard right now. But the feedback we're getting from the planning board is rear buffer more important than front yard setback. It's not I would use the term economically viable. No, economically viable. Look, this is his office. This will be, the proposal is for him to build his office here. Right now, he's on Jericho Turnpike in East Northport. Okay. So he wants to relocate his practice into this building. So
I do think there is some merit to the orientation proposal in regards to the buffer of parking. This is requests from planning board and board point already. So I can understand why they want to put the building. With that being said, the planning board's not. They could probably reduce it from this building or find a new location or something. There probably are alternatives for increasing this. So So I think some kind of front yard setback variance probably would be just fine, but this probably is the best site from a planning perspective. That doesn't necessarily mean there should be a front yard design. And the FAR kind of when they put the building smaller, whether or not it's economically viable, but it's building more smaller. Okay. I would hope they're comfortable. And I was actually going to ask about.
Yeah, the fence tapers as it approaches the street.
But I also see on the side of the property, one note here on the plan, it says proposed decorative fence transition from 4 foot to 6 foot height. And that's on the second front yard.
That's on the back, on the southerly line?
That's on West Street.
Yeah, because I'm looking at notes that say proposed tapers within 15 feet on the southerly, right, on the southerly line of the fence. And then when you swing around on West Bay Drive, it says 4-foot decorative fence.
Right, I see all that, and then somewhere, like almost directly east of where the building is, it says decorative fence transition from 4 feet to 6 feet. I don't understand that.
Oh, yeah. I see that point. Yeah, that's not, look, there's no reason for that on that street frontage. I'll withdraw it,
I just didn't.
you know?
What's up with the monitor? Okay, no problem. I want to make sure.
You know, the other things I'll say about the front yard, we did reduce the building in size once already. We made it not as deep on the first floor. And there was some discussion about actually cantilevering it out over the parking area, but there was no positive coming back from engineering on that. It would reduce parking, what was one of the reasons. When you put in the columns, you're going to lose a space or two. You know.
Does anybody else here like to be heard in this application?
Good evening. I'm the owner of the property right behind it, Robert Raffer, 6 West Bay Drive, RAFFA. I got a couple of concerns. The first is the fence that's coming down from north to south on West Bay Drive. Yes, but I'm still a little concerned because I don't know if the board is aware of how many accidents happen on that street. People come off of Montauk Highway onto 6 West Bay Drive at a good 45 miles an hour. Okay, so my concern is when my driveway is short and just trying to back out is a bit of an issue if the fence is too high. So I know they're saying they could lower it somewhat, but I was talking to Joe, couldn't they cut out a little bit of a wedge to give me visibility? I have 4 kids. You know, I'm concerned about pulling out of my driveway because I'm telling you, they come around that street. I've been living there over 30 years. I can't tell you how many accidents and people have gotten hit over there.
Talking about the southeast corner of the property?
This south, yes.
Right here, that thing?
Yeah, I was, you know, maybe because he's looking to bring the fence all the way to, the fence is already about 20 feet back. Now the fence is going to come to the sidewalk.
So the fence should be 4 feet high at that point.
Yes. And that, I guess it's great if you have a pickup truck, but if you got I'm a midget and I'm a little small, and if I'm in a small car, it's not too easy seeing somebody as you're backing out. You're right, by the time I back out, I'm on the street, you know, they're coming 45 miles an hour. I was just wondering if they could cut out a wedge of 15, 20 feet.
What he is talking about is notching the corner.
We understand.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I told him that providing engineering agrees, we'll make the fence lower than 4 feet. They want to do 3, 6, or even 3, as long as engineering agrees that we can do that, that'll address his problem. I agree, but he raised a comment and I wanted to.
Sorry, as long as they're in compliance,
I guess, again, I didn't realize that when I came here, that's a whole different department and everything. So even if I bring up about the shrubbery, they're looking to put trees in the back instead of shrubs. That's not this,
We are putting shrubs, we're preserving the trees.
okay.
You brought you the shrubber over there.
And as far as the building is, again, I'm hearing what you saying as well, that the building is going that close to the street. You know, does the building need to be that big? Could it be scaled down a little bit?
I couldn't have put it better myself.
You know, they just built another doctor's office and tore down the building three over, and it's not this monstrosity of a thing. That's what, again, I'm not against it. I'm not for it yet until I heard everything, but I'm just wondering, is it just too big?
You heard our point, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
Good evening. John Davis, President of the Willis Point Association, P.O. Box 55. Also a board member of the West Islip Association. I'll speak on behalf of them because we all met together on this project. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be quite as controversial as it's been. And I would like to make a comment on the front yard thing, but if you don't mind, I'll just bring up a couple of other points first. The planning board did have a public hearing on this, as you probably know, back in October. And at that time, planning board recommended to the applicant that they meet with the local civic associations, including our two, plus the Badland Beach Estates Association. And we did have such a meeting on January 3rd with the attorney and the architect. That was with the West Islip Association and Willis Point Association. We were shown the drawings. We were impressed with the fact that the new building is maintaining the residential character that's required, I believe, under that zoning, the GST. And we felt that we discussed these very issues you're talking about tonight. We felt that the building being close to the front was somewhat in line with what planning has done over the past 10 to 15 years. For example, on Higbee Lane, the orthodontist office is about 8 feet from the front property line. On Montauk Highway, south side of Montauk Highway, directly opposite the intersection of Higbee Lane, medical office building that was built there approximately 5 years ago, did build with a 10-foot setback. Mary can double check that for me to make sure. I might be in error, but I believe that was given the 10-foot setback for the front. So anyway, when we discussed all of this at our joint meeting with the architect and attorney, we were quite satisfied with the design of the building. We believe that the whole project will be an improvement for that area. A lot of people may not want medical since there's so much medical there, but I don't think that's really an issue for us. You know, we were quite pleased with the proposal. One of our members does join the property on the southwest corner, and you know, they're okay with it. I mean, generally with our membership, when we discussed it at our last membership meeting, everybody kind of thought this was a good use for this property. So both of our associations are in favor of the application. Thank you very much.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Just a couple of quick points. Mr. Davis's organization, the Willets Point Club, submitted a letter in support, as did the West Islip Association. I will turn in additional copies of those now. Intrinsically making the building smaller doesn't increase the setback. Okay. You have to make it narrower. Like if you took the space off the sides, it would make the building smaller, but wouldn't put an inch on the front yard setback. You can't make the building as deep. And if you take even a foot off the building, you're pushing it into the parking lot. So you could lose an entire row of parking by moving the building back. Depends on the number, Mr. Nicolia. You know, if I was going for a 40% parking waiver, I'll be honest, I don't think I'd get it. You know, Like, we have a four-space waiver, and that seems to be supported. If I had a big number, no, I don't think I get it. And nobody wants people parking in this neighborhood.
Your argument, you wouldn't get a 40% parking less. You want us to get a 60% variance of the building.
I think the reason I say no on 40% parking is it would push people to park on West Bay. And, well, the test involves more than substantial. The test also says, is there a harm generated to the neighboring properties or surrounding community? The substantial nature of the test on paper is always, it factors in, it's like the issue of self-created hardship. But, you know, there are many variances on substandard lots that are 50, 60% that are granted. I did a 40-footer in Babylon Beach Estates some years ago. The question is there going to be a harm generated by the variance? As Mr. David said, there are other shorter front yards out there. You know, if, as you start to take more space off the building, you know, it's an office space. You need hallways, you need elevators, you need staircases, you need a lobby. You're cutting all of those things off. And at some point, when you narrow a building, because I remember I can't make the building, I can't make up for the depth and width because I have 20 feet on West Bay, and that's where the existing building is. So we don't want to go any closer in that direction. And on the other side, I got the LIPA lines. And it's not just the lines, there's a setback from the wires. It's not an active line, but LIPA won't abandon it. So that means I can't make the building wider in either direction. And making,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What's the square footage of the building?
I don't have a full copy of the plans. I can't make it out. I think it's less than what's proposed.
Like substantially less?
Until I knew the number, I couldn't say I would consider it substantial.
The 60. 50 plus 50 plus 6, so that's going to be 56 plus so 50 plus 77. That's 77.
On 27.
7,000 square feet, roughly.
The-
7,000 square feet. So they can get that building at that square footage.
The proposed building is 7,474.
Yeah, the 7,000, yeah, and the existing, I think you said was, between 7 and 8.
If I trimmed,
So they can comply.
they can comply with the front yard setback because they don't meet other things. It's existing as a restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Like I said, my math is bad.
It's existing as a restaurant. So yes, if you reduce the width of this building, you would reduce the floor area and not affect the front yard setback by an inch.
That would be a choice. Well, the point of what I'm saying is you can reduce the size of the building. You don't have to put it where it is now. You don't have to go for second level.
It would,
Wants to, the client wants to, because
When-
more profitable.
no, again, I object to the more profitable. And you're, Mr. Nicole, I hear where you're coming from. I do, and I'm right on the edge of withdrawing it and telling my client to put it back on the market.
Well, Mr. Mazzell, you can do that, or you can decide to massage it a little bit. I think that's what they're asking.
Well,
We've been going on for 20 minutes. I don't think you're making any headway. They're making their
No,
point.
I don't. And if I'm going to massage it, my problem is I'm not dealing with you guys. I also have the planning board and the engineering department, which is looking at things very differently. And then I have site constraints I have to address no matter what, you know? And you,
Right. Why don't we?
look, at this point, I'm just going to withdraw it, advise my client, and see what he wants to do.
You spent 25 minutes.
Well, if he's gonna change the application.
If I come back, on anything, it's going to need to be, okay, we'll adjourn it, let's put it over for a month, or thereabouts, whatever date works for the board, and we'll see what they want to do.
Initial suggestion, I know.
I understand that. Some of us are longer winded than others.
We just leave it open adjourned?
That's up to you. I have no problem with that.
I think that's a better idea.
Got a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
All right. Good night.
Yeah, let's take back the other.
Yes. It's like an academic debate.
We're gonna call back, the last case that we held open,
1124.
311-24, Ronald Gonen.
You guys. Oh, sir.
All right. Again, I just want to, I represent both the neighbors, Frank and Darlene Hostika at 11 Sexton Avenue and Maria Fish, who is at 12 Sexton. They are both in the rear of the property, and I just wanted to bring the board's attention to a photograph that was in my package, which does show the location of the house in proximity to my client's property.
What did you agree to?
Yes, I think the pool location we are fine with the pool location at 21 feet, so that is acceptable to us. The problem we have is the location of, the elevated deck is at 10 feet, and that setback is being varied from 15 feet to 10 feet. And that is the problem that my clients have, and we talked about this. The issue is the deck will become very much at head height at a location that is directly in their backyard, which will impact their use and enjoyment of their property. As this board is aware, very well aware of the balancing test you're required to keep and the minimum variances that are required to be granted. You know, I have not.
But that's not 8.3 anymore, right?
Correct, it's at 10. But the issue then becomes, and again, if you look at other decking, in this area, I know, sure.
There's two. There's another one that's lower. Residents are pretty difficult to find in this area because there's very few houses, so there is a unique challenge of finding. It's not that easy.
Where would you grant it? Well, then we'd be doing it on the area.
Difficult to say. It's only two, so a third probably would make that more. I will say it's pretty common across the country. Fire Island have approaching decks. It's almost so common that it's trivial. The reason it's not going to go in this area is because the public trust parkland on either side. That being said, currently, I wouldn't say there's a lot of precedent to grant this. It's not out of line with other
I'd like to the required setback of 15 feet. I think if this board is true to its form, it takes its precedent very carefully. I'm aware of its requirements to make the precedent be within 500 feet. The uniqueness of this property is that it is Robin's Rest. It is surrounded by a federal park. That is correct. But if you consider the issue, and this is Fire Island, and I also think the decks that have been granted precedent of any decks in this vicinity abut the federal lands. You do not, in Robin's Rest, which is unique, you do not have decks backing into the setbacks of other adjoining properties. You have a unique situation here, which I think sets a different precedent that you may not want to grant.
You clarify the two ones that I mentioned before. There was one, zero, that one.
Correct. So a zero, I don't think at 10, what? to one.
Two of them had 10, but similar situation to yours.
On Robin's Rest. Right? I was brought onto this case on Thursday.
I just don't think the request, the variance from 10 to 15 feet, which is like, out of line. All the time.
I know. I think Fire Island is also unique in every little enclave. Each place is different. Robin's Rest, in my opinion, is unique. This setback is being asked for because they want it, just for the board's education. This was a tear down and was a rebuild. The house could have been located in a better location to accommodate the need for this deck. You had a blank slate to work with. They inched in with the house, and now they are flexing out with the pool deck. My clients are fine with the pool. It is the intrusion of the deck, and it is not at ground level. It is at 10 feet, at 10 feet from their property lines. I think that is where this starts to go a little far.
You don't want us to grant anything.
No, the pool variance is, yes. Well, it's only, it's a setback of 10, it's a setback of 15, and we would suggest, I think,
Remember that a member of the firm comes in and variance all the time. We say, oh, no, you get nothing. Is that what you want us?
I think this is a unique situation, and other colleagues of mine that do other work shouldn't impact how I'm representing my clients tonight. And what I'm saying to you is a 1 foot variance is de minimis. So if you want to grant them 14 feet, I don't think that'll hurt us, but I'm not sure what the precedent is and what the value is to that either.
Did you conference this with Mr. Graham at all?
Yes, he was unwilling to compromise on the setback of the deck. I'm aware.
Anything else?
No, I just think they have failed to meet the factors as I've stated them to you, but I'll wait your decision. I think we've met our case.
Anyone else want to be heard in this application? Oh, sorry. If you want to speak, you come up and speak.
Can't see Vice Counsel.
Forgive me, thank you, sir. I don't think either of these gentlemen,
Name and address, please.
Frank Hostica, 11 Sexton Walk, and my wife Darlene Dooley, co-owner, is with me. Hosticka.
You address, sir?
Excuse me? 11 Sexton. Our neighbor Maria could not be here. She's an elderly woman, couldn't get her back this evening. Neither of these gentlemen are that familiar with my community. I would like to, they're all well-meaning, and if you had looked at the picture, you see the impact that this building, which encompasses 3 lots, has had on our community. It dwarfs every house around it. I can't show you can see the overheads. You can see the shots I took in our backyard. It was a shock when it went up 3 years ago. I have come to live with it. Change is acceptable, expected. There's forces here that are well beyond any of us. The man had the ability to construct it. He did. Apparently, it was all up to code. I was asked for no variances. You look at our backyard, he blocks our light, literally. I'm not here to complain or be resentful. I'm just saying that this next stage, the initial was crazy. This one is even more of an encroachment on my home, my backyard, my privacy. He's looking into our kitchens, our bathrooms, our bedrooms from that 10-foot deck. Both of our homes. I just wanted to point that out. Neither of these gentlemen can show that. Whatever decks they were having at 0, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know anybody that's decked up against each other's houses. I just don't. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of it. I've been in the community for 35 years. The 0, where was the 0? Can you show me that? I'd really like to see it. That was a commercial property, a restaurant. Oh, no, that's, no, forgive me, that's not the restaurant. The restaurant's next to it. He's surrounded by seashore. That's the seashore over there on the right.
That's what he said.
Yeah. He's not next to another house with that deck, right? The other one was what was granted. I don't know which one you were referring to. The pools that were constructed existed there. They're also on the bay and on the seashore. They're not in the community per se. Nobody else is seeing those pools. I just pointing out that the community, my property, my neighbors have accepted and absorbed enormous change already. And I'm aware ISLIP has been very good about enforcing code in many past years. It's good. I'm in favor of that. And 15 feet, the setbacks are to prevent things like this from happening. I just don't see, it seems petty, 3.75 feet that I can't give it. I'll give everything that he's entitled to. He's entitled to it all. I'm begging you to look at my backyard and my neighbor's backyard, what we're going to be seeing in our neighbor's house. Because of FEMA and all that, there's a lot of things out of my control. I'm the first to admit that. But I just wanted to point out, my able attorney and the architect don't live in this community. I have for a long time. We all have. And I could have brought you letters. A couple people were pretty upset. That no, let's be organized and just try to make the case. The reason I'm here is because I've lived there, and you can see the change that has already occurred. And 15 feet, guys, that's what the law rules are. He's entitled to what he's entitled to. I just ask that we, do what we do for the reasons that those rules are there. Thank you.
So 15-foot rear yard is the setback requirement for a deck between 18 inches high and 6 feet high, correct? Yeah, it's something along those lines.
I just
So-
wanted to respond.
Hold on.
I'm introducing the idea of deck height because council said that this deck is 10 feet high. It's 10 feet above sea level. It's not 10.
Yes, and it's consistent with the first floor of the home, same level. The house is at FEMA. So if, I don't know because I did not design this house, but the house is at FEMA level, which is the lowest it's required to be, and so is the deck.
Well, you have the plan indicates that the first floor elevation is 19.2. Oh, the entry level, lower level is at 13.
Yeah.
So you're stepping down 3 feet to get to the deck?
Yeah, we lowered the deck, and one thing
Consistent with just the first floor of the house?
yes, it's lower, 8 feet lower.
Or not?
Do we know approximately how high off the sand?
No elevation.
I just want to make sure it's not raised and looking into anybody's property. Here. Nick? If we need it, I can knock left.
And do you have any idea how tall the other two precedents were?
What I did want to point out, though, is we have the ability to put the deck across the entire back of the house. The plan was only to go through half the house, so the neighbor that was just complaining, the deck's not even going to be behind his house. No deck is going to be there. And we're willing to plant the entire backyard with privacy trees. So if you want to make that a condition of approval, that's fine with us too. Put in the biggest arborvitaes there ever could be shipped to the beach.
We've done that before. It's really hard. I become the
We don't know the height of the.
All right, so we gotta look at that.
But we can find out if they still exist.
I have other applications coming before this board in this same neighborhood that we're going to be lifting houses. You know, I have one here. The house was lifted. The Somberg house, it was part of it to lift the house. So the decks are getting lifted with the house. Just a matter of time before everybody lifts their house.
All right. Anything else? on the board? Next one. All right, then first, I'm gonna make a motion that we change the call of the meeting to read, permission to install above-ground pool, leaving rear yard of 21.3 feet instead of required 25 feet, and deck leaving rear yard of 10.5 feet instead of required 15 feet. Second, okay? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All can change, now I'll take the motion.
Due to the fact that we do have a number of houses, and I'm gonna make a
Second.
All in favor? Application is granted at this time.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. One is, apparently the other isn't. Doesn't matter. What would you like to do? You might fold it wrong. I get a little weird about folding. It's safer to roll. Application number 314-24, Midway Development LLC. Permission to leave elevated dwelling having first floor elevation of 12.7 feet instead of permitted 9 feet and floor area ratio of 45.8% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, west side of West Bay Drive, 527.97 feet north of 89th Street, West Islip.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Christopher Ang, 93 Main Street, West Sayville. I also have the owner here.
Mark Scheinman, 114 Midway Street, Babylon, New York. Scheinman.
Mr. Angle, can you tell us?
Yes, this is a house that we originally pulled the permit in August of 2015. This was a Sandy house. It was a rebuild house that I put through New York Rising. The previous owner just misused the funds, and the house was never completed. The new owner, Mark Scheinman, had bought this house from the previous owner, is completing the house. What I would like to point out is that the original house, we pulled the permit and it was in compliance with all the zoning laws at that time. Since then, two of the zoning code changes affected us when we submitted for the certificate of compliance. One is the space under the house was not considered part of the floor area ratio, and now it is, and it's included under the code that's amended 314/2023. And I want to point out the height, we were previously approved for the height of the first floor, but since we were approved, there was another code change in 2/28/2017 that forced us to come before the board for the height as well. Well, I'd really like the board to consider that, this was previously approved by the building department back in 2015. We're forced in front of the board because the code changes changed since we pulled that permit. That's correct. No, absolutely.
This has actually been before the zoning board before. The floor area ratio and the 2017 is when we added the grade first floor elevation code. Based on this time standard. Closed out the permit because of the mismanagement. As far as the FAR, that was.
Mismanagement, I'm sorry.
What you said on funds.
Previous owner.
Previous owner.
Okay.
The
Just to be clear, so the way that it was built is now creating an FAR issue. It's actually done prior to.
That's correct.
And then the FAR also, now includes storage area, it has a certain bedroom, at the time of the project. Either. Yeah, we need somewhere around variance. It was double because now.
This was given a permit and applied when they got the permit. That's the code change. After all, they should have moved out in our application. But they applied their code.
And the construction was done before.
From what I can tell, yes.
Yeah, so was it, yes, the guys. Yeah.
Does anyone else hear this out?
We actually had some signatures of the neighbors just supporting our case.
Okay, so then I'll, take a motion on it.
In the back, permit. So amendment, I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Application 315-24, Albert Project LLC. Permission to subdivide lot into two parcels. Lot 1, to leave two-story dwelling on lot having an area of 8,467 square feet instead of required 11,250 square feet, and to leave two-story addition 21 by 21 under construction, resulting in floor area ratio of 29.86% instead of permitted 25%. And Lot 2, to erect two-story dwelling on lot having area of 8,451 square feet instead of required 11,250 square feet, front yard of 30 feet instead of required 40 feet, and floor area ratio of 29.95% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, southwest corner of West Street and North Street, West Islip.
Good evening.
Good evening, last but not least.
Can I just ask you one question?
Yes.
It's sort of been determined that this is a board of precedent. So is the board of zoning appeals, your board of precedent. What precedent do you have for 851 square feet?
Well, I have number 28 of 1984, which was a 7,900 square foot house.
And is that within the 500-foot radius?
It is.
Grant?
That was a grant. And I've got 899 of 02 in the radius. And then I've got 359 of 96. Also smaller houses than the lots, than the one
They're
proposed.
built on E451 or less?
Correct. And I provided you with a map of the area, and you can see there are 24 lots, all with houses on them, that are smaller than the proposed lot. 500-foot radius.
So there are 25 houses on lots less than 84.
Correct.
So you're basically saying that is the neighbor.
Exactly.
Oh.
I'm sorry, what was that?
And the plot thickens. Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on your map.
All right, well, half still leaves me 12.
Arbitrary line.
Those would be all the 5,000s, right?
Okay,
So, he has 9.
all right. We have 9.
First two rows. The two rows to the left, right?
So you have, looks like Nick told us we have 9. Correct.
Correct.
My question is, those 9 are in this zoning, plus how many in the 500? I know you can't go to full 500 because it's going to a different zone.
I think all of those are within 500. I can just note that most of those structure pre-existing non-conforming.
I feel in the case of a subdivision, character
It should. There's one particular example here, reading subdivision. It's, my most important one. And it was to subdivide another corner property, actually this one right across the street here, very similar manner, going to dump off the rear yard, 2 lots at 9,750, and it was denied twice. That is the other corner property.
How would we square if we were so close to grant this? I know.
Sure. When was that denied? That was denied in 1990 and then 1991. There's very little subdivision for that. Most of these lots are consent.
What are the lots, for this, 38, 38?
Right across from North Street?
Yep.
Those are all, they weren't subdivided.
I mean,
After the fact. They are undersized.
they are undersized, and the tax that number indicates. 41, 42, no? There's 2 that 38.
Oh, that one,
I think it's this one and this one.
I believe that property is actually that one and one. Let me check that.
Yeah, I think it's.
There was one subdivision nearby. I think that one was unique because it's subdividing, business zoning from residential.
One that we denied twice. You get a chance to read what the denial based on was just.
The denial was based on entry character. It's pretty evident by that. They were saying that approximately 60 to 70% of the area is 30% still being a decent amount non-conforming. Yeah, that's still true. At the time, though, they decided that it would create an undesirable effect, and I pointed out, in the case here, there's several other lots in the area that could be subdivided. This one, obvious example, situations are very similar.
They would be into the next one.
Here, identical situation.
Look at the zoning map, but I see quite a bit in the right to see zoning district.
There is a lot of
And it doesn't, in my opinion, precedent doesn't matter so much as the like an undersized lot.
Yeah, that's what you would consider to be what was said.
Yeah, I mean, I just, how they got there, is kind of, I feel like it's something.
If I may read from the 1984 decision, said the board wrote, the board feels that since more than 50% of the area is improved with 50-foot lots with side yards, not that they were subdivided, but they were improved with lots and side yards, similar to the one, those being requested by the applicant, that the applicant would be application would be consistent with the nature and character of the area.
That's crazy.
But we denied it twice, and then we opened the door for at least 2 or 3 more. That's
But what would you be creating when you're opening the door? What you're creating is lots that are already in character of the neighborhood.
You're not going to let.
just the 1920.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's
And they have 50-foot, and most of them have 50-foot frontage. This is considerably larger frontage. Now, obviously, we have a little bit of a disagreement with the neighbors.
Let's see if there's some people.
Yeah, let's do that.
Folks, we'll ask you to come up one at a time, use your name and address. There's no reason to repeat what else someone else already brought up.
The information is here.
Lawrence Mayetta, 24 North Street.
Is that proximity to the?
So you mentioned 28 north and west intersect at 28, and we're the third house off of west. Maietta. We've lived there, my wife and I and our family. We've raised our children there. We've lived there. It'll be 40 years in July. This is an area of West Islip. It's very old. These houses, most of them were built in the 20s. Our house was built in the 20s. The lots were all divided back then. Some lots are somewhat oversized. Some lots, such as mine, is one of the smaller ones. No sidewalks on any of these streets: North Street, South Street, West Street. This house, this project that the petitioner is looking to develop is on North Street. That's a dead end. The garbage truck actually backs down to get the garbage 3 times a week and pulls out. It's a dead end. West Street is the cut through. North Street runs past West, and then it's a dead end. So it's on the dead end. So I'd just like to that's why I want to shed some light on the neighborhood and, what it is there. As a matter of fact, very difficult if 2 cars park on each side of the street, 1 car's got to sneak through. And so most people try to park in their driveways except for when they have company. So it's very tight there. It is a dead end. These houses that are on smaller lots, none of these lots were created. I was here for the 1990 hearing on that corner lot. I believe it was 33 South Street. Yeah, I was here for that one. And it was turned down. It was turned down. They wanted to take a garage that was in the back of that property, a pool garage, and build a house there facing West Street. West Street, very narrow street, same as North, same as South. No sidewalks, very difficult to get around there. The individual was actually asked, why do you want to build this house there? He said, well, I'm going to lose money if I sell my property. I want to build a house. It was a monetary issue. So he was denied. I just want to point out also that on North Street, there are 2 other lots that are oversized, number 7, number 18. On South Street, there are 4 that I see that are oversized: 7, 14, 21, and 33, which is the one from 1990. They've since built a new house there. Person there, that petitioner sold that property. Someone else bought it. They lived there for many years. They sold it. I mean, they built a new house and then it was sold, but they built a house on the existing section of the property. I do also on West Street, there's 22 West, which is also a somewhat large lot. So there's some large lots there. And we talk about precedent. What's going to happen to our little community there if this is approved on a dead end? These other houses on North and South Street are not on the dead end. What will happen in those cases when future people come before the board? One other thing
Don't you live across the street on a similar sized lot?
I live down the block on a similar sized lot, not on the dead end. 24.
And it doesn't give you an house.
24 is, okay. That's it. That's me right there. Okay. These lots are very long. They're narrow, but they're very long. So you'll see here. Across the street. You'll see on South Street, there's some larger lots there. If you pull back onto South Street, you'll see here. So also there is a house that was just sold on 14 South.
Sir, I think what this lot would be just what you have.
Yes, but you talk about precedent. We're going to add a house here. There's another house at 14 South Street, large lot.
Yeah, but precedent is wait, we're not talking about that. Something that's being added. It doesn't matter if it's property needs by going for it, or it existed.
character and nature of the neighborhood, a lot of little tiny lots.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, because,
And it shows that it is.
no, it's not. I beg to differ. I think you should come down.
All night.
On North Street, the last 4 lots on my corner, I'm one of all the other ones on my block, from West Street to Higby, are all out larger lots. Okay? Look at South Street.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on, and all front on North Street.
With smaller lots?
In the same, actually, yeah, because these are looking for 8950, 8500. I see 82, 78, 78, 78, 74, 78, 78, 78.
I just, also, you were going to change, you're talking about the character of the neighborhood. They don't fit the character. Okay, that's fine. That happens. 14 South Street, large lot. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was also bought recently by the petitioner. I would like to point that out. That's on 14 South Street. So I think I'm done here, and I'll let someone else talk.
Next person I would like to be heard?
As it's getting late, if you can.
Yeah, good evening.
We understand you.
My house is mentioned in, Peter Verone, is in Victor, Arrone, 33 South Street. So in this particular neighborhood, according to the town of Islip, my home is the most valuable home. Okay? Valued at over $1 million. Why? Location, location, location. Lots, large lots, drives the value. That's what attracted me to the home. I'm glad the board in 1990 denied the division because it benefits me. That's my property now. It's a great property. I have young children. The property that will be split, I could stand on my 9-year-old could stand on the corner of my property and reach it with a tennis ball. So to say that the nature and character is small lots, I think you're missing sort of West Street, all those, there's been horses on those lots on West Street, that whole strip. So I believe this change would reduce the property value of my house. And you're looking at North Street, and these houses, 1920, we have houses from the 1890s. But this is very much my block where my kids play. And North Street, there's a lot of congestion right now with cars, okay? And bringing more cars to North Street is not safe. There's a lot of kids in elementary school. There's bus stops on the corner of North Street and West Street. And I can tell you the buses have problems right now making the turns. I think carriages used to go on these roads. My cameras pick up buses going up on my curb. I call the school district. No, it's common practice. I have big tread marks and I see it. So like to allow this split, you're basically telling me, which I have no intention, I could split my house or the buyer of my house can. And every other house on South Street can split their house. This is not what we want in this community. It was denied for a reason in 1990. I know it was your predecessors, but that's the precedent. And I think you need to honor that. These other houses are this size because you're going back 100 years. There were immigrants in this community. There was farms. It was a farm.
We'll let this young gentleman. Yeah, well, that's the people. Sir, you can speak from there if you like. Okay.
My name's Henry Gugler, Gugler. My wife Elaine, we reside at 21 South Street, West Islip. I think I get the grandfather's clause. I've lived there since 1953. It was my father's house, they built it. 14 South Street that they're talking about was my grandmother's house. My uncle lived next door to me. Now, I understand that our new neighbor has purchased 14 South Street also. And I'm sure you'll see me if he wants to subdivide that too. These properties, as I said, I've lived there for 70 years. And you want to talk about destroying a neighborhood. That will be destroying this neighborhood. We're a very welcoming community. We welcome the new neighbor, but we do have disagreements with his plans to go ahead. I'm sorry. This is my heart and my life. And my father built this house. Bought the property for $1 from my uncle next door to make it legal. My father, I don't know what the zoning is, because my father turned around and said he worked for a AA zoning for that area. Now, if it was changed without my knowledge. But he instilled with me how important it was to have that for our children, the people that are on the block. And this is going back when I was a kid. I mowed the lawns, I mowed my mother's, mine, and my uncle's. And I was out there 6 hours with a push mower doing that. Well, the neighbors did it like good. They had to listen to me sing Oklahoma all day long. But
The character of the neighborhood. Bigger lots, the houses that we have, the community. Elaine. This will change the whole makeup. That whole neighborhood is like you go down south and west and north. So it's only the people that live there come down. And it's just a character that we'd like to keep. That was a precedent to have those lots like they were. And I understand that there are some small lots, but there are a lot of large lots.
it was farm country back in those days. 14 South Street backs up to, it's a senior citizens center now. In that whole area. And I can remember the houses across the street, there was a problem because you look at it, it was a driveway, because one house is set all the way back against the school and the other house is up front. And they came to me and I said, well, as a kid, I remember it was just a telephone pole. There wasn't a fence for the school. So that was a community driveway. You could have split it in half and say this half is on one side, you know. So that's what it was. It was settled. Everybody said, okay, well, that's it. You know, I mean, at one time it might have been a road, you know, originally when the school was there.
Thank you for listening.
Good evening, Chairman Ritaliata and members of the board. My name is John Lightel. How are you? and I live at 19 North Street. My name is spelled Lytell. I'm about 4 houses away from this property that's and its current 2-story addition construction project. Additionally, I own the property on the corner of North Street and Higby Lane that my grandparents purchased, and it's remained in the family since the 1940s, and which I maintain as a single-family rental. So been there a while, and we have a fair amount invested here. I'm here to voice my opposition to the proposed subdivision of the lot at 30 West Street, which would make them substantially smaller than zoning regulation and the proposed building on both lots and the additional setback variance proposed. If a homeowner were to request a modest expansion of a garage or their house, that seems to be a request within reason to just bend the rules, but I think that the proposal under consideration, however, is an entirely different scale and situation beyond just bending the rules and likely establishes precedent future projects in our immediate vicinity. Moreover, this property is owned by a limited liability company. It seems clear to me that the motive is for profit in the business of construction development, not simply a neighborhood resident seeking modest modifications. Beyond even that, in this case, we're asked to provide the applicant 2 lots of variance, twice outside the scope of present zoning. And the idea that the town of Islip and the immediate residents should be burdened to accommodate this proposal, I feel is entirely unreasonable, in my opinion, and the abuse of our neighborhood. Finally, I just urge the board to deny this proposal, and I thank you for your consideration and the opportunity to be heard tonight. So thank you very much. Thank you. Same here.
Good evening. I won't repeat everything the neighbors went over, just a few things. I live at 49, oh, sorry, J. Adriansen, Adrianssens. I live at 49 North Street, which would be exactly directly across where this lot is. So my front of my house faces that lot. My biggest concern is I've been there for 35 years. Most of the people here have been there 30, 40 years. Again, this house was built in the 1920s. So the lot size is 50 by, I think ours is 170. It's pretty standard when they subdivided them back over 100 years ago. What my biggest concern was, I was here in November when this house on West Street went up for a variance to have an extension put on it. The board mentioned that the square footage of the property was more than enough for that extension to be placed in that area. I was not fighting that extension. It was rather odd that as soon as they got permission to put that extension on, which they have now started to construct, suddenly, after that variance was approved, now they come back to you and say, oh, by the way, we also want a variance on the lot behind that and a variance on the extension we're building currently. Seems a little excessive considering what all, and I don't want to take everyone's time here. I agree with all the neighbors, it's out of character, but my point was why suddenly now, after you just a couple months ago approved, because the square footage was way more than they needed, and I agreed 100%. Yeah, the owner of the property is now he got an extension, and now he's trying to subdivide after you gave him approval, which he would have never got if he did it at the same time. Well, again, I know you like to say, yeah, sure. Right, and now get a variance for the original area that they're putting the extension on, as well now as a variance to get this other lot.
That was my, yeah, originally there was no question about the square footage, but now there is. Yeah, they put that on there. I noticed that too. Never mentioned it. Yeah. But they didn't apply for it at the time. They waited for you to get that extension. That's all I had to say. Thank you. Good evening. I'll try to make this brief. It's not my fault that we've run late. I'm in construction. My name is John Barrett, B-A-R-R-E-T-T. I live at 34 South Street, which is the west-south corner of West and South Street. My wife and I eventually, I think I'll retire in about 2 years. I keep putting it off because I say we love our neighbors too much. So if I go to Florida, I'll never find a neighbor like I have in West Islip. I've lived in this house since 1986. I bought it from my twin brother, and I know everybody in the area. This is an extremely tight community. The streets are extremely small. A lot of young people have moved in the last couple of years, and everybody uses the street as their own park. All right, Peter, who has the biggest house in the block, the $1 million one, right. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. His kids play in the street constantly. West Street is a playground. There is no, if you go down the street more than 5 miles an hour, somebody will throw a garbage can at your windshield because you are going to hit either a dog or a kid. Okay. I've been living in Islip since 1980, and I couldn't afford Massapequa Park anymore. And I will tell you, this is the first time I've ever come to Islip Town Hall. And I get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work. So I'm a senior project manager for a construction company. So for me to be up right now, it has to be very serious. I am deadly opposed to this. My property is 85 by 180. So if you consider that a small piece of property, thank you very much, because it was the most I could afford. All right, but the bottom line is, I don't want subdivisions in my neighborhood. I came to the Parkwood area of West Islip because it was beautiful, because it was well balanced, and it had nice people in it. There's the property, the other piece of property they're talking about, which is 14 South Street, is only 3 doors down from me, and it's a nice sized lot. And I can guarantee you that if you approve what is going, it's in front of the board right now, that I will be here again within 2 months when they decide to subdivide that piece of property, because the utilities were already there, cutting off utilities and putting up the portable steel fence in front of it. So we know that things are going to change, but they're not changing for the better. All right. And I love my neighbors. I love my neighborhood, and I pay a lot of taxes. So I would appreciate it if this was not granted. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Michael Kazak, K-S-I-A-Z-E-K, 2 South Street, West Islip. K-S-I-A-Z-E-K, 2 South Street. I am 4 houses south of the proposed application. On West Street itself, even though I'm South Street, it's part of the Mary Udall estate, built in 1895, my house anyway. Next door to me is 1875. I probably have one of the smaller lots on West Street at almost 1/3 of an acre. As you go north, they just get larger and larger. And for this to become even half the size, I understand some of the smaller properties on North Street, the congestion, we don't have any through traffic. It's just a little horseshoe. And I am opposed to this application as well. Same thing, it's an LLC company. He also bought 14 South Street, which if they do subdivide this, it's going to set precedents, and they're just going to add this. It's not like it's a mother-daughter. He's just doing this for profit, which I don't blame him, but it's not the neighborhood to do it in. All right, I grew up in Nassau County. The houses are on top of each other. I moved out to West Islip because of the property sizes and the community. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to be heard?
Good evening, Paula Costa-Carrick, 53 North Street, Kosterkerick. My house would be directly across from the proposed McMansion, as I would call it. I bought my house 4.5 years ago. I bought it on the character of the neighborhood. The character of the neighborhood does not lend itself to McMansions on pieces of land that are the size of a postage stamp. The houses in the area on North Street, South Street, around the corner, they're small to mid-size, and that is size appropriate. I bought my house because of the charm and the quietness of the neighborhood. And like people say, it's a dead-end street. As Jay mentioned, there was a proposal for the variance in October, and there was no proposal at that time to subdivide. That is a little bit shady to me. Why did they not propose to subdivide at that time? 6 months later, they just say, oh, wow, we're going to subdivide? I would also like to note that there are requirements in place for a reason. 40 feet from the front of the street, and they want 30 feet. If we let everyone do whatever they want, it will destroy the charm of the neighborhood. The owner is already building on a spit of land. The front of the house that they're building their addition to practically spills over onto that street. We don't need 2 McMansions on a corner lot. I really don't need a newly built McMansion across from my tiny home. I bought it as a single person. It's a small house. I don't need a dead-end street to have McMansions on every corner. And that's not what I pay Islip Town taxes for.
Please don't just repeat these things.
Good evening, Scott Gordon, 20 North Street, EON. Again, everybody took a lot of what I was going to say. I've been there 28 years, October. Raised 2 kids, great neighborhood, quiet. I'm on a small lot, 50 feet wide as well. It was a small little 800 square foot house. We extended it. We had to get permission to put a front porch on, and that was turned down because of the setback. So we couldn't put a porch on that would bring us even close to where my neighbors are. So we decided to put the money elsewhere. So I don't think we should be giving other people latitude on that 30 feet as well. Traffic, parking is interesting. You want to have company, your whole family over, it's always tough. 50-foot lots are just really tough. I had thoughts of buying 14 South Street. It was always in the back of my head trying to figure out who owned it so that I could put up a house there, single family dwelling, and 1 level, but that wound up getting sold. And so I hope you give it a lot of consideration with what all our neighbors are talking about, and I definitely oppose it.
Anyone else who would like to be heard?
Good evening, and thank you for your patience with all of us, as we've had patience as well. My name is Deborah Kaprowski, and just Koprowski, lifelong sorry, 45 North Street, so I'm right across the street. So just to reiterate what everyone has been saying about the area and what type of area it is, I've been a lifelong West Islippian, as was my dad, as was my grandmother, as was my great-grandmother. My grandfather was the first police officer in Brightwater's Bayshore. So the reason why the roads are so small there is because they were for horse and buggy. That was how it was. So parking is horrible right now. I can't imagine with,
You've heard it
yes.
many times.
So I just wanted to
get it.
reiterate that.
We get it.
Nope, I just wanted to reiterate that because
We understand you're all against it. You don't think it's with the character and nature of the neighborhood and the parking's bad. We get it.
Good evening, everybody. John.
Right.
What happened?
You mentioned parking, we're coming in all of us.
Yeah, we need more parking. I'm kidding. Jonathan Kalogi, K-O-L-O-G-Y, 57 North Street. We are across the street, north side of North Street, last house on the dead end. I'm not going to bring up parking. You know what I mean? There is a significant water issue on the dead end that if it rains a fraction of an inch, we have water in the street for a week. There are underground streams that we don't know what the plans are for. So we don't know if they're going basement, if they're going on a slab. It's a major concern that we're, yes, I can't tell you how many times, Jay.
That's not before us.
Yep. Jay and myself have helped Paula in the past. She's had a plumber over countless times over the past 6 months to try and fix her issues. So there are significant water issues underground. We would just want to know what the resolution is for that. But I could say that we also wish for this to not be granted.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Chevy?
Hi.
Same rule applies.
Yep. Erin Turner, Turner. I am 48 North Street, so where the house would butt up to. I know it's been talked about, it's not parking, it's the safety. I just want to say in the last 24 hours, I was coming back from a run and a school bus couldn't get to the kids because I was running along the street. There was another car parked on the other side of the street. The kid wanted to go see the dog that I was running with, and it was just a whole lot of chaos. And that's just from yesterday. It happens all the time.
All your fault.
Exactly. And then later that day, I tried to get home, and there was an Amazon truck. They thought I was going to turn down West Street. I wasn't, so they backed all the way to my house. Now they're blocking my driveway. I can't get in, and now we're stuck. So just the congestion and safety.
I'll try to be brief. I know you guys are tired.
Parking, yeah.
I will not talk about parking, unless you want me to. Okay, so I personally had no knowledge. My client does in fact own 14 South. I had no idea until this evening, but he's been texting the crap out of me. He is not here, but he's watching on TV and texted me. There is actually an application in to build a house on 14 South Street without a subdivision. So he wanted me to point that out. There will be no subdivision. The house is square in the middle. And yes, it will be a McMansion.
There was also an application for the house on this lot. And which we approved.
You mean, no, not a, right.
His plans were.
Okay.
Single family house, but, you know, despite the fact that there was a subdivision line on the map that's submitted.
All right.
But it wasn't his intention, right?
Let me address that. I was coming to that next. All right. Now, our client, despite being an LLC, lives in this house. And he was undecided. He was toying with the idea of subdividing. This is his backyard. So he thought, well, should I do it? Should I not do it? But I definitely want to do the addition. Let's do that. And then if we decide to do the subdivision, once I'm living there, because we brought that prior to his occupancy, I'll bring the subdivision, which is his right. Correct? I'm sorry. Oh, he applied. He applied and he did.
Right to apply, he doesn't have a right.
No, of course, obviously. All right, and the FAR, just to note, is still under 30% for both lots. Yeah, I feel compelled to point out that our first speaker lives on a small lot that's 8,000 square feet and has received variances for an addition and 2 decks. Paula lives on a 7,500 square foot. Number 20 has received 2 variances. The last speaker was also a 7,500 square foot lot. So the point being that we're not asking for a 5,000 square foot lot here. We're asking to have what everybody else has. And, you know, I understand that they're concerned about water. Water is an engineering issue and it has existed before we're there. It was a problem. So there's no science to say that we're going to exacerbate the problem. So that would be dealt with at the Department of Engineering if and when we put in plans for construction. Obviously parking, that's for you guys to decide. But again, we're not yeah, I did say the word. I said the word. Hey, listen, it's late. All right. You know what I'm saying. I assume we're going to close and hold.
And a motion?
Anything else? No, anything else?
Yeah, Brandon, what do you?
I think it's a difficult application because it is a very good, more is conforming than non-conforming. There's a lot of- I think the biggest sticking point is that it's going to be very similar circumstances to subdivision previously was denied. And there is a concern that they're not the board, probably not. But
It was.
I think there's a good amount of support for both parties.
It was a settlement to
I don't know how we get beyond.
that's why you were here so close. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, Judge.
Very similar circumstances.
Okay.
I don't think a motion to reserve.
Motion to reserve.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Decision reserved.
Okay, everybody. We have 11 accessory apartments to renew and 11 two-family use homes.
That
Motion.
means the decision will be rendered in 60 days.
There'll be a decision in 62 days.
No. You can call the office periodically.
That was closed. The hearing was closed.
No.
But you can call the office in a couple of weeks.
Call in 62 days because you probably won't notice it. So,
Okay, we have 11 accessory apartments to renew and 11 two-family. What?
Come on, guys.
Two-family use only.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Let's go. That's a wrap, Ken.
All right. Thank you, Natasha. All your service.
Make
Oh,
you
yeah, we had
rethink
to let
your
you go into
choices
that.
or what?